This is the Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network.
Yes, it is, Andrew. This is the Midnight Ocean Radio Show and podcast coming to you live from the Sunshine State. Can't say that twice. Sunshine State. Deep in the heart of the Nature's Coast. Oh, I said it. There you go. It's Nature Coast. There is no plural on Nature's Coast. Man, what a night it's going to be. I can tell you in a few minutes we're going to have our very special guest on. This is actually the first time we've ever had an astrologist on the show. So this is going to be interesting. Leslie McGuirk. Hopefully I got that correct. You guys might know Leslie from her child books. We might talk about those too. Yeah, I'm getting into reading. Believe it or not, that's what happens when you do these shows long enough. Your mind note goes numb. No, I am starting to actually read child books. I love them. I love them. I think they should be on everybody's reading list because, you know, it brings you back to a time when you were young. For me, it does, at least, and I thoroughly enjoy them. But, yeah, so I'm sure we're going to talk to her about her critically acclaimed children's series books. But more importantly, we're going to be talking to her about her new book on astrology. I have a lot of questions, a ton of questions. That is one area that I've always had doubts. But I'm going to keep an open mind. Just being honest with you guys. I am definitely going to keep an open mind. But before we get to Leslie, who's on the phone on hold, and I'll make this quick. If you are new to the website, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you very much. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. That's important to us. For those that are on Facebook, I'm going to give you a warning. Facebook Live. They're batting 100%. Usually right when we start getting into the esoteric topics, things that some people don't want you to know, we'll get disconnected. Now, I will tell you, if that happens, your best bet is to come over and join us at themidnightocean.com and listen to us on Spreaker. Or, of course, you can come over to YouTube if you haven't done so already and type in the Midnight Ocean. We're the first one that pops up. Click on that if you want to see the video feeds. I'm just warning you, it happens. And I will tell you, last night, I'm not your average bear, boo-boo. That's all I've got to say to those out there who don't want the message to get out. We knew that the show was going to be interrupted last night. It was interrupted on YouTube and Facebook, not on Spreaker. Spreaker, thank God. Thank goodness. Thank God. They don't adhere to any of those censorship notions. So we actually pre-recorded last night's show. And then we were playing the recording when they bumped us off the air. Well, guess what? We just turned the recording on live. Turned it on them. We knew that. You get these voices, these messages that come to you and say, hey, this is what you have to do. And I'm going to tell you guys, after doing this for a few months and listening to our guests and following what they suggest we do, I can tell you it has helped us tremendously. And like I said, last night's show, we were told to record it in its entirety off the air and then play the recording back because something was going to happen. And sure enough, it did. For those that were watching on YouTube, YouTube broke. Right. And those, of course, on Facebook always breaks. But YouTube, that's the first time I've ever had YouTube completely disconnect the feed and throw a big error message up there. But luckily we had it recorded. But that's enough of that. Let's get to our guest who's waiting very patiently on the phone line, Leslie McGuirk. Let me give you a little bit of background. Whether facilitating a corporate retreat, writing and illustrating a children's book, or leveraging her decades worth of experience as an astrologer for clients worldwide, Leslie possesses a unique ability to bring people together. I'm glad she's on the show because that's what this show's all about. It's amazing. I will tell you, talking about bringing people together, we were looking at our demographics. I get back to the introduction. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to bring Leslie on so she can hear this and interact with us. Hey, Leslie, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, no, thank you for joining us. But, there was a part there in the intro, and I just stopped your introduction, because that whole part about bringing people together, we were doing our advertising, getting the sponsorship stuff together for doing advertising, and we were looking at our demographics. It's amazing. We are, I guess, legitimately fair and unbalanced. I don't want to take that word away from the mainstream media, because they're so hokey anyways, because they're definitely not fair and unbalanced. But we have our demographics of our listeners are far left, far right, and right in the middle. It's amazing.
That's great.
We had a great study. So we have listeners who are on the far left of the political spectrum. We have listeners that are on the far right. And it's awesome, because, what's really neat about it is that we can all come together through this show. It just goes to show you how non-mainstream ideas, there's a thread through multiple demographics. We're equally balanced, male and female as well. Age groups. Our age groups are, typically our higher age groups are 45 to 65 in our listeners. Then the next group after that is 35 to 45, and then 25 and so on. We even have some 12, 13-year-olds in there. So we have to watch what we say. And that's why it's very important that we behave ourselves in the chat room, people, during the show. But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. I'm just utterly amazing. But we're not here to talk about us. We're here to talk about you and what you do. Where do you want, obviously it was funny. I was telling Sandy as we were driving today, I said, I'm going to throw Leslie a curveball.
Good. I love it.
She thinks that she's going to get on here and talk about her astrology. Nah. We're going to talk about her children's books.
I can talk about a lot of stuff. Yeah. You want to talk about children's books?
We can talk about your.
Happy to do that.
You are prolific. I was reading your children, your list of children's books on Amazon, and I'll tell you, it's like 6 pages deep. And
it's amazing because I have absolutely no training in art, and yet I've made a living as an artist for most of my adult life. So it's been an interesting pathway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how do you figure that? I mean, do you just have a gift for it, correct?
No, well, it's actually because of astrology, believe it or not. I didn't believe in astrology at all, and when I was 19 years old, my mother was worried about me. I was lost, which a lot of 19-year-olds are lost, and I went to an astrologer that she had heard about, and this woman looked at my chart and seemed to know me in the most profound, deep way, and she basically said, "You are incredibly creative. What are you doing?" And I said, "Nothing." And she said, "You're getting a very late start, but you've got to immediately start taking art classes and writing classes." And she basically told me what would happen to me if I did this, and everything she said was 100% correct. And that's when I started to study astrology when I was 19. I thought to myself, how did she know all this?
Wow.
So I literally would say that it's because of her that I became an artist and a writer, because I was nowhere near to becoming anything like this without that push in the direction.
Yeah. Well, it's really funny because I didn't know it, but I actually read one of your children's book, Tucker Off His Rocker. Wow.
That's about 17 years old now. That's pretty cool. Those are quite expensive. If you try to find them used, they're very rare.
Yep.
So hang on to that one if you have it.
Yeah. No, it was actually given to me as a gift for my daughter. Our youngest daughter is 16, and it was given to us when she was born. So it was about That's about right. And it's in her series of books. And what's really funny is that we were cleaning out the shed and getting rid of stuff. And I've gotten into this phase lately where I am reading children's books. It's funny. I mean, maybe I'm digressing in life. I don't know what it is, but I enjoy them. They take me back to a period which is just so memorable for me. And
I think it's true. I think many children's books, both the illustrations, the artwork, there's something very soothing about entering the world of a children's book. And they're like the movie Mary Poppins. Remember when they would jump into the paintings and then go into that world?
Yeah.
I think that's what a good children's book will do, that for a child or for an adult. And when I'm writing a book, I always try to make sure that I'm entertaining an adult as much as I am a child.
Sure. And that's the thing and that's what I want to get out there to a lot of our adult listeners don't be afraid to pick up a child's book and read it. And more importantly, if you have a child around you, read it to them. We have such a huge problem in this country. We become a text-based country where everybody sends messages, text, and we don't communicate anymore. And it's just so aggravating. I listen to grown adults now speak at professional level, and they speak like they're texting, and it just drives me nuts.
Which is one reason I wrote this book, The Power of Mercury. It's all about communication, and it's all about why it's so important to be actually having verbal conversations face-to-face with people, not just writing little quick sentences or non-sentences. Correct.
Which is funny because the parent company of the Midnight Ocean is DeFaro Partners, which it was not intended this way. And DeFaro's Latin for to communicate. Right. And what was funny was when we were originally putting that out there, the whole notion, we thought we were going to be like an Art Bell kind of like show where we're going to do an interview, blah, blah, blah. And it came back very clearly. It's like, no, you can't be a show that just interviews people. You have to communicate with them. You have to talk to them. And that's the whole premise of our show is that it's not an interview. It's so funny. I get publishers. I don't reach out to publishers that much because the reason being they send me a series of questions and I'm like, I'm not going to read them on the air. So, we're just going to sit down and see where the conversation leads us. And, okay, thank you. But, and then I had one that got mad at me. They're like, you were supposed to ask this question. And it's like, I'm sorry. When people come over and have dinner at my house, I don't have a list of questions for them.
No, it's brilliant what you're doing because you're basically being very zen. You're in the moment and you're letting it happen, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. That's right. And it works. I love it though. I walk away so enlightened from the conversation. It's incredible. I have the best job. I'm in Major League Baseball, as they would say in the business. Cause that's great. I get to do and go to work and do like you get to go to work and do what you enjoy doing and meet great people.
Yeah. It's all about following your passion. And a lot of people sort of forget what their passion actually is. And we're lucky that we know, but a lot of people, believe it or not, they really don't know.
Well, that's because they allow the external world to dictate to them what they're going to do.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I've always said this, I'm the type of guy and the best advice I would give anybody, even including my children, and the advice I give them is if there's something you want to do, go do it. Don't wait. And don't put it on a shelf and don't, go do it. If you want to jump out of an airplane, go jump out of an airplane. You can go do it for $250. It's no big deal.
Right.
All right. Prioritize, save up $250 and go jump out of an airplane. If you want to learn how to fly an airplane like your dad did and stuff, hang out at the airport. You'll find someone that will need help and that will need work, and they need people to just kind of help out. And lo and behold, next thing you know, you'll be flying. That's his life. We sit back. So many people, especially younger people, they sit back and they expect it to come to them, or they think because they went to college or they sat in classes. I mean, they're on the right road. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they are kind of plugging in. But if you want direct, instant kind of response for your work effort, go out and hang out with people that are doing what you want to do. And it's amazing how quick it will happen.
And I totally agree. And it's about having no regrets as well. Just live your life. People who are passive, there will not be a lot of magic if you're passive. Yeah. But if you are engaged, it's amazing the miracles that can happen in your life.
Oh, it's incredible. You're absolutely right. I mean, Yeah, it is. I get personal experiences. Like I said, I've seen flying airplanes. I've seen the beauty of the skies, and it's just incredible to be up there and just float over Earth. And it's just, you see things sailing, sitting in the ocean and being able to see whales up front and dolphins and all sorts of things. But hence the Midnight Ocean name, because at the same time that is peaceful and it's just incredible. It's an incredible experience. It's just an uplifting experience. It's also terrifying as well, because, well, you realize real quick that you're in a position in which if something goes wrong, this isn't like driving a car. Right. This is out in the ocean. If something goes wrong, your chances of survival are zero.
Right.
You are now you're part of the food chain, and you're not at the top of the list.
And you're never more alive than when you're in those positions.
Yes. You do. You feel it's just so incredible. So yeah, my advice to anybody that's listening to this show, get out there and do it. Just if you want to do something, just get out there and do it. And the other thing too is read children's books, because it's awesome. Well, it is. I mean, it's so incredible. And if you can, go read children's books, to kids. I mean, that's very important. I think that's also important. We just don't do enough of that these days. But, all right, enough of that. So let's get into what I guess our listeners are probably wanting us to talk about. So you were 19 years old. So you went to go see an astrologer. Was this a physical? Because I'll be honest with you. I did the Madam Chloe line, and, called the Psychic Friends hotline. I did that when things were rough. In desperation, people will do desperate things. And I just, ever since then, I was like, okay, whatever. And stuff. So please walk me through the process, or walk our listener, what a true astrologer experience is, and not the 900 numbers that are now illegal in the United States.
Right. So the most important thing I want to tell everyone is that people have this idea that astrology is reading horoscopes in the back of magazines where someone will predict your future. And I am not even remotely interested in that. I don't even think it's possible, and that's not at all what I do. So how I explain it is that I believe everything in nature has a pattern to it and a design. So a snowflake, each one has its own pattern, a tree trunk, everything in nature has a design. So what I believe an astrology chart is, it's human design. And I believe that, for example, the moon, which is just a rock floating in space, it has power over every body of water on this earth, correct? Like the tides go up and down according to that rock floating in space. So someone could say, well, that's crazy. Why would the moon do that? But that's what it does. And we are 90% water. So there's a correlation between that moon and our bodies. And it doesn't mean that during a full moon we're all going to go crazy. But if you talk to anybody who works in a hospital or a school or any place where there are a lot of people, you will see that things are more heightened during a full moon. So there's just an influence. It's not predicting the future. There's just an influence. So what astrology is, it's a map of what was above your head when you were born, and it gets put into this system, this circle with, all these lines, and it's very complicated. It's like music. And when you're born, you basically have a song that you're supposed to sing, and you can either sing it poorly or sing it well. So a good astrologer should never predict the future. What they should be doing is just reading your owner's manual, helping you navigate so that your life is easier. And very, very few people talk about astrology this way. And most people don't realize how incredibly accurate it is. I tell all my clients I'm 95% accurate, and I'm desperate to try to get a scientist to study what I'm doing, because there is something to this that's very mathematical. It's like sacred geometry. And it used to be that you couldn't get a medical license unless you knew how to read a chart. And people don't realize that Hippocrates, who, every doctor takes the Hippocratic Oath, they left off part 2, which was where he said that any man who studies medicine but doesn't know how to read an astrology chart is not a doctor but a fool. So why was that left off? So there's been a lot of people over many, many years who have tried to get astrology to be something that's foolish, and I think it's probably because it is so accurate and so useful that if human beings had this tool, we would be a lot better off. And even recently, did you see that they just came out with something about how there's a new zodiac sign?
Yes.
And well, it's crazy. It's not true. And when you look at it, it's not even attributed to anybody. So I think that there's some force out there that's desperate to try to keep people like myself, who are actually very clear about what astrology is and what it isn't. And people don't even have a clue of how useful it is. And there was actually an article in The Economist magazine last November that was not about astrology, but it was basically about all the planets. And they actually have scientific proof that all of the planets that are spinning out there in space give off like a torsion field, a movement, like any body it gives off waves. And these waves, they said, definitely are here on this planet Earth. And that's the closest I've come to having proof about this.
Yeah, I mean, that's how your radio telescopes work. I mean, that's exactly how they work, is that they pick up those waves, those signals. And, we had Thornton, on the show, the thunders of God, and the fact that the universe is electric in nature.
Very much so.
And,
yes.
And we know that, like you said, we are saltwater humans, and
yes.
Electricity and water, they tell you don't mix, but you can walk in. I've done it. I've walked into high energy fields in my telecommunications days and microwaves. And I can tell you that it will definitely affect you.
Right.
The energy that are coming off of these things. And this is the thing, is I am learning the more and more that I do these shows, the esoteric, they don't want you to know the esoteric, because I think it gives them a leg up. Because I promise you, who was it? Nancy Reagan? She had an astrologer in her office that was actually in the White. Not a cabinet position, but actually had a pretty much an office in the White House. Well,
I think it was J.P. Morgan who said that millionaires don't use astrologers, billionaires do.
Yeah. No, I
a lot
agree.
of powerful people use it, but there are very few people who know how to read charts these days. It's becoming a lost art. And when I go to astrology conferences, I'm just amazed at the fact that everyone's older. The younger generation, it hasn't been part of the vernacular, and I don't want this knowledge to be lost for the next generation. And because I tell all my clients that I save them so much money, because I actually work with psychotherapists a lot, where I will kind of find all the shortcuts, figure out exactly what the person needs to be working on, and then you don't have to spend hours and hours trying to figure it out. An astrologer can get right to the meat of it.
Yeah. And I think it's important, and we're coming up on a break, so I don't want to get in too deep of a discussion here. But I do want to talk about this owner's manual, because it's funny. I see these billboard signs where it says, when we have the new parent holding the child, and it says, if it only came with an owner's manual. And
yeah, guess what? There is one.
There is one. It's just that you need to do it. And, and so before we take the break, I do want to throw this question out there. What information, you don't have to answer this now, let's answer it after the break. What information do you need? Do I need to provide you, or that a parent should be gathering on their newborn child, to be able to have an expert such as yourself build this owner's manual? And then the other thing is there revisions that need to be done, and when should those revisions to our owner's manual happen? So we're talking with our very special guest, Leslie McGuirk, and astrology. I get it. See, I'm starting, like I said, I didn't know how this conversation was going to go, because I am a skeptic, because I had a bad experience. But everything that Leslie just said makes perfect sense to me. Is that it's not a predictor of the future. It's just basically your owner's manual or your operations manual. And like all operations manual, if you change the oil and do the things that you're supposed to do, rotate the tires, you'll go long and be very well. But we'll get more information. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with our very special guest, Leslie McGuirk.
This is the Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network. Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network.
That is right, Andrew. This is the Midnight Ocean, a radio show and a podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live here every weeknight from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or on the web at www.themidnightocean.com. If you're joining us for the first time on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as you pass through. We prefer you to hang out, though, for a while. And also on Facebook, I will warn you guys on Facebook, if you get dropped from the feed, and right now they're batting 100, you can always go out to themidnightocean.com or out to YouTube and watch us live there. Of course, you can also follow us on Twitter at the MN Ocean. That's the MN Ocean. I want to give a shout out. Hey, Sentinel, welcome. 1990 Sunbird 1990, welcome as well. Joey, I hope I got that French pronunciation correctly. Joey, welcome. And also, of course, Debbie in the chat rooms. And there's so many more, but I don't know you guys yet. So I'll welcome you guys here in a few. But before we took a break, with our very special guest, Leslie McGuirk. Am I saying your last name correctly?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
McGuirk. Okay.
Yep.
I have a tendency, and I know people that longtime listeners are tired of hearing me say this, but that's why my first job in radio was working at a jazz station. I couldn't say the artist's name correctly. So that was my first introduction to radio. So, but it's kind of important that you say their names correctly, especially when the radio station is part of a university is known for its music. And
right.
I had professors calling me up during the show. You got that name wrong. It's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. No, it's insulting. You should be able to. It's like, whatever. So, oh Lord. So before we, we're already getting people in the chat room that are saying, hopefully Leslie will show us or share with us where we need to go to learn how to do astrology properly. So we'll get to that maybe, so I'll let you know, already being on this show, we have 3 or 4 people that are already in the chat room going, we want to learn how to do this, and we want to carry it forward. But before we went on break, I was going to ask you, what type of information do you need in order to build this instruction manual, this owner's manual?
All right, you need the birth date, the exact time of birth, and the place of birth. And then it used to be in the old days when I first started doing this, you had to look up all of these records of where the planets were in the sky, what degree they were in terms of space, and it was very complicated. Now we have computer programs that can do it very quickly. Yeah. And so you need those 3 things. And if you don't have the exact time, you can actually write to the hospital where you were born. And believe it or not, most of them have these records, even if you were born in the 1940s or earlier. It's amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to ask in Japanese. I was born in Japan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I was born in Tachikawa, Japan. So, and I was not born on a base. So unfortunately, I could not run for president of the United States.
But if you were born to an American mother, it doesn't matter where you were born.
I think that they're saying that now. You're correct, but it's funny. I had after 9/11, I was actually asked to leave the country because there was a mix-up. There was a mix-up on how they did the passport or how they recognized it. It was a mess. So I ended up, and luckily, I hate to say it, but luckily about, the time, that this was all going on, I was very politically active in donating. My companies donated to a lot of, organizations, politics, PACs, all of that stuff. And I was getting a back and forth from INS about, do I need to get a green card, even though I owned a business and I was employing people. And so finally my attorney said, why don't you just do this? Ask for all your money back because it's illegal for a non-citizen to donate to election campaigns. So just tell them you want your money back because they're in violation of the federal laws. And
oh my God.
We wrote that letter together. And then 2 weeks later, I get a thing that says I'm an American citizen. Apparently, they passed there's 2 ways that you can become an American citizen. Obviously, you can go through the immigration process, or the Senate can pass a law making you an American citizen. So somewhere in some bill, some legal document, I got to find out what bill it was, because it's probably some terrorist bill that they passed after 9/11. My name is in there, and it says making Jeffrey W. Norton a U.S. citizen. I got the letter, the piece of paperwork, and it had Colin Powell's signature on it. So at that time, Secretary of State Colin Powell.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a
wild story.
It was an ordeal. It was because my parents were supposed to go and declare and do whatever they were supposed to do, and what they did is they put me on my mother's passport. But they didn't actually do. And then what happens is that there's still supposed to be paperwork filled out. Well, that paperwork never got filled out. It was a mix-up. They didn't tell my parents the right information. And it was funny because here I am doing government work, and they never caught it until after 9/11. They did a huge upheaval and background, everything. And that's when they caught it. And I was actually told that I had to leave the country.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was fun. And then the thing is, I'm sitting in INS. I'm going to INS, and the INS lady's sitting there going, "What are you doing here?" And and everybody's looking at me. I'm like, "I'm not American." And she's like, and I followed the law. Every week I would report to INS, trying to get it resolved. And finally, they kicked me out of the office because I refused to go. I said, "You guys got to give me my status. Do I need to leave? Are you going to lock me up? And then they were like, "Get out of here." And they basically told me to leave and don't come back. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, I was born in Tachikawa, Japan. The things we go through. But so you need a year, the time, the date, and then of course the location.
Yes, and when people think about astrology, think about how in the old days, the people who were sailing the seas, they would use the stars to navigate. Yeah. And that's how I like people to think of what astrology is. It's just a navigational tool. Sure. And the reason why a lot of people don't believe in astrology is because if you get a bad experience with an astrologer and they use this tool incorrectly and start predicting your future, that's bad, and that's inappropriate and scary. And people should be a little bit leery about going to an astrologer, because if you don't go to a good one or someone who has the right kind of head space about how to deal with human beings, then it could be toxic. I mean, I've had clients who went to astrologers who, because in their chart the 7th house of marriage was empty, they told this one woman that she would never get married. And I said, that is so cruel. People who use words and put things like that into someone's head, it's very damaging. Yeah. So you do have to be careful, but like anything that's powerful, when used well, it's great. When not used well, it's not a good thing. So there's a fine line here with astrology, and I'm just very, very careful. And I think that I'm in service when I'm working with people, and I'm just very careful with language just to make sure there's never anything negative ever. It is what it is. You're not going to get mad at a Jack Russell Terrier for being yappy. So why would you think it's negative if a person has a lot of energy to them? There's always a way to use the way we are, because we're all perfect the way we are. It's just how do we use it so that it's the best?
Well, I think before we took the break, I used the analogy about a car. And, you change the oil, and it sounds like that's what astrology is. It's kind of like your owner's manual, right?
But here's the difference. I can't touch the car. I'm only looking at the car. So I'll lift up the hood. I'll look at all your wires. I'll say, okay, that wire, you need to get that one fixed, because if you don't get it fixed, you're going to keep running into troubles there. Yeah. Because there are some people who are born with the genetic tendency towards alcoholism, for example. I can tell whether it comes from your mother's side of the family or the father's side of the family. And it doesn't mean that you have to become an alcoholic, but if you have that tendency, you want to be careful. And it's why the astrologer that I went to at 19, I think she actually saved my life, because she said, your brain is in overload, and if you don't figure out a way to channel it correctly, you're going to be looking for ways to stimulate your brain in unhealthy ways. And because of her, I didn't touch any drugs, didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do anything. And thank God I didn't. So it was a good thing.
Well, the other thing, too, is that you can do everything right with your car, but that doesn't mean that someone else can't come around and wreck you.
Exactly.
That's
why, because we all have free will. We have free will. And also, like, when people talk about twins, well, how could astrology be correct if two twins born like a minute apart, and they're so different? Well, of course they're different, because it's like being given the keys to two red Mercedes. They both have the same owner's manual. They're both very similar, but you have free will, and one person could drive that red Mercedes into a bad neighborhood and it gets vandalized, and somebody else could keep it in their garage. So you don't know how people are going to use what they were given, what their pattern says. There's a high version of it and there's a low version of it, and where you fall in that range, you don't know.
So the time of day is very important.
It's very important. You can rectify the chart if you don't know by asking pretty strange questions to try to figure out where the different planets land within the astrological wheel. But that takes some time to figure out. But there's a way, and I can always tell if someone's given me the wrong birth time, because if I start saying things that are not correct, I'm thinking to myself, you need to go back and check and make sure. And sure enough, it's always the case. They had the wrong time.
Yeah. And that was the thing. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm game. I don't know my birthday. That's the only problem, though.
You know your birth day and year. You just don't know the time.
I don't know the time, and and it's funny because my mother listens to the show, so I just text her. I'm like, but I don't know if she'll remember that either. She's like, oh no, I'm getting a response back on the phone. She's like, how the heck am I going to know that? She'll probably. We'll see. I see her text.
Do you want to tell me what year you were born and what your birthday is? I'll tell you a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I don't have a problem doing that. So I was born in. It's already out there on Wikipedia. I'm fine. Well, not Wikipedia. It's already been posted in one of the published sites. So I was born in 1969.
Okay.
October 21st. In
October 21st.
Tachikawa, Japan.
Okay, the only thing I can tell you right now, just from just the Mercury book that I just wrote, is that when you were born, the planet Mercury was in the sign of Libra.
Yep.
Okay, so your sun sign is also Libra, and that's it just describes the way your brain works. And when it's in Libra, it means that you're kind of obsessed with fairness and things being balanced, and it's a great placement to have, because when the brain is functioning under that zodiac sign, it's always clear-headed, balanced kind of thinking.
Yep. And by the way, my mother said that she can't give me the date or the time, but she can say it was before noon and in the AM, in the morning, but before noon.
That helps. That's a huge help. Well, when we take another break, I can take time and actually pull up your chart. It just takes a while to do that, and I realize we're on a live show. I don't want to take time doing that. And
I didn't mean to corner you. You could have said no. I mean, it's okay, but
I actually love doing this for people, because then if I can say certain things that are meaningful to you or that resonate, then it helps people understand what this is. And as I said, it's like a car coming into the shop, but I'm not a mechanic. I don't touch the equipment. I don't try to fix anything.
Yeah. So, and the other part of it is that I will let you know. I mean, I'm open and on. I had a numerologist on the show, and we did the same exercise with him, and I was brutally honest with him, and that's because I have a philosophy. I can't ask people to come on my show and be honest with me if I can't be honest with you. So I will let you know. Brutal. I'll just, I mean, and if you say, hey, you are an alcoholic or whatever, okay. I'll share that with you guys in the audience. I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. So this is going to be fun.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good.
Libra, fairness. I'm all about being fair. It torments me when I see inequality. I get angry.
That's definitely a Libra trait. But one thing you should know about Libra that's very interesting, of all the zodiac signs, it's the only one that's not an animal or a human being. Did you ever think about that?
I didn't think about that. What is it then?
It's an inanimate object. It's the scales of justice. That's the symbol for people who are Libras. It rules beauty and fairness and justice. That's the high, elevated version of Libra. The negative of Libra, and this is where, again, there's a range, and we have a choice whether we're going to do the low level or the high level, but the low level of Libra would be coldness because it's metallic, so sometimes they can be distant and aloof. That's not to say all Libras are, but that can be a tendency, especially if somebody's moon, which is their emotions, is in that particular sign of Libra.
Oh.
We don't know yet where yours is because I haven't looked yours up yet.
Can you be both? But can you be cold? Because there's times where I will withdraw. Not recently, but when I was a little bit, I would withdraw and just be very aloof and cold. And
in relationships, did people say things to you about that? Like they would comment on it? Yeah, that's a very strong Libra tendency. So my thinking is when you know that there's a high level and a low level of something, you want to go to the side of beauty and fairness and justice rather than aloof, metallic, and cold.
Well, usually when I become aloof, metallic, and cold is when I feel that there's been injustice. Where I get, and I feel like there's just no, like at work or if I was working on a project or doing something like that, and I felt that there was, someone wasn't being treated fairly, and you go through the process and you still basically get the, shut the heck up from the management. Then I'm like, okay, whatever. You want to play this game? I'll play this game with you. I'll shut up. And I'll do it for 2 or 3 weeks. And then when they come knocking on my door asking me something, I'm like, you told me to shut up, so I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to talk to you. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. So, and that's that baby syndrome, I guess they call it or whatever. But no, I've been known to do that to people who I feel are being unreasonable. It's like, you want to be unreasonable? I'll show you what unreasonable looks like. I can do it so much better.
So you turn into statue.
I can do it so much better than you can.
That's funny.
Yeah. But like I said, that's I'm not like that, but maybe 5% of my time. The rest of it, I usually about 2 weeks. I'll go through these phases in about 2 weeks. And it always revolves around fairness. If I feel that someone is not being treated fairly, or even myself for that is not being treated fairly, that's when I say, okay, you want to play this game? We're going to play it. And we'll see.
You have a righteous rage, that they call that, which is, it can be a good thing because when you're passionate about something, you're really going to be a fighter for it.
Well, and that's in the telecommunications with the business that I do, is that's the reputation I have in the industry, is that people will say, look, Jeff will, we want Jeff on our team. And people will be like, you don't want Jeff on your team because and it's like, that's why we want him, because we might not agree with what Jeff says, but at least we know he's telling us the truth. I mean, I'll sit in meetings, and when someone says, oh, it's a $10,000 budget, I'm like, it's not $10,000. You're looking at about $150,000. And it ain't going to take 4 weeks. So you're looking at like 6 months. And the company who's trying to win the bid that hired me to come in there to do the assessment, they'll be like, well, I think we can do it. It's like, it's that old adage. You can get 9 pregnant women in a room. Doesn't mean you're going to have a baby in a month. You still got to, things take time, and they all do, and they all take time. You can throw as many resources that you want to, but there's just certain things that take time, and you just have to work that out. And that's the reputation. Yeah. It's funny though that you say that. All right. So what else can we do without running it through the computer?
Well, one of the things you asked me before the break was when else can you use astrology besides doing the natal chart and giving someone a sense of their owner's manual? The other thing that you can do, there are a couple things. One is to look at the transits, which means, like being a meteorologist, the planets are constantly swirling above our head, and they have an influence on us. That's why when Mercury goes retrograde, when everyone talks about that. Everyone freaks out because they think you shouldn't sign contracts and you shouldn't plan trips, but people don't even have any clue about what Mercury retrograde really is. I'll get to that in a minute. But basically, you can look at the weather patterns that go on top of your birth chart to see what the feeling tone is going to be for the next year or two, or what the patterns are that you're supposed to be working on right now.
Okay. And that is one thing I hear all the time in the technology business. Oh, Mercury must be in retrograde. I'm like, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah, well, it's ridiculous the way people talk about it.
That's awesome that you're going to explain that to me, because I hear it's an excuse in the business. We'll have servers crash. We'll have phone systems go down or what. And I'll be on an emergency call and someone always pipes up and says, well, Mercury's in retrograde. Like, that means something. That's supposed to mean something. It's like, no, one of your guys ran into the freaking locker that held all of the telecommunication servers and tipped it over, or something like that. But it's. I don't know if you want me to start talking about this now, or if we're going to go to a break. But I can explain what Mercury retrograde is. If you want to hear. Let's go ahead. Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, first of all, you need to know whether or not you were born during Mercury retrograde. Because if you were, it means that your process of thinking is going to be different than everyone else's. And when it goes retrograde, that's actually your good time. So what Mercury retrograde basically means is that a couple times a year, the planet appears to be moving backwards in the sky. It really isn't. It's just an optical illusion. But because it regulates, in terms of astrological language, it regulates communication and travel and anything to do with electronics. When it appears to be going backwards, people think that things tend to break down more during that time. Well, that would be, it could be that there is an influence, but again, I don't think you should live your life worrying about whether or not Mercury is retrograde or direct, but you can, during those periods of time, you're supposed to actually be going in a reverse mode yourself. So think about when you're driving a car. If you couldn't put it into reverse once in a while, you'd never be able to get it out of your garage or parallel park. So it's not a negative thing. It's just these times when you're supposed to slow down and retreat and reflect and all the words that begin with an R-E. That's an appropriate use of Mercury retrograde times, but if you happen to have been born during Mercury retrograde, that's when you're supposed to go forward. So for me, this book, because I was born during Mercury retrograde, I had it come out during Mercury retrograde because for me, that's the best thing. But if you go to an average astrologer, they're going to say, what the hell are you doing? You should not be putting your book out during Mercury retrograde. But for me, it's the best time.
And you were saying, I mean, basically, was I in retrograde or no?
No, you're direct. You were direct. So during Mercury retrograde, you might feel a little frustrated during those times because everybody will be acting the way you just described them, like everyone's all freaking out. And then when it's over, everything gets back to normal. And, you know, because I live with Mercury retrograde in my chart, I can't get all worked up about it because if I did, it meant every time that it's direct, which is, you know, over 250 days out of a year, I would be a Looney Tunes person. I'd be crazy. I can't live my life thinking that this is a bad time for me. That's crazy.
So, you know, what I need to do, Leslie, is I'll bring you in as a consultant. When I hear someone on there go, Mercury's in a retrograde, I'll say, all right, stop right here. I'm going to call Leslie. We're going to get her on the phone. And I'm going to look up their chart and say, you know what, you were born during Mercury retrograde. Be quiet. Yeah, be quiet. Yeah, stop using that as an excuse. Your guy just... Yeah, don't use anything like that as an excuse for living. If things break down, they break down. You fix it and you move on. See, that's how I am. It happens all the time. In electronics, we have every electronic component's got this stamp on it. It's called mean time between failure. I mean, and it's like, it was just meant to go. I mean, but I do, like I said, in my industry, I hear it because I mean, most computer people, let's talk about most software developers and stuff are very esoteric anyways in nature. That's just the nature. I don't know if it's just because of their belief systems, because they're creative in nature, the fact that they work late hours and they listen to the Art Bells of the world, or, you know, on the coast to coast and the midnight oceans, and they do that because that's how I got introduced. But I'm telling you, I always, every time, I kid you not, every time I'm on a support call for a major outage, on a telecommunication site, I always have someone say, Mercury must be in retrograde. So now I have the answer for them. I'm going to say, I'm going to bring Leslie. We're going to pay her to be our consultant. She's our Mercury in retrograde consultant, and we'll see. We'll have her run everybody's chart. Well, there's the music. We're going to take another 4-minute break, and we're going to come back with our very special guest, Leslie McGuirk. I hope you guys are learning something. I did. I now know what Mercury in retrograde means. I never knew that. So, wow. Learning, and we will move on. And like I said, I don't mind being your guinea pig. Trust me, we'll tell you how to get in touch with Leslie yourself.
This is the Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network. Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network.
That is right, Andrew. This is the Midnight Ocean, and you're listening to us live. And you can continue to listen to us live every weeknight from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or on the web at www.themidnightocean.com. Now, I know that our guest joining us tonight, Leslie McGuirk, only has a certain amount of time. She has other commitments and stuff, so I want to. We'll do all of the promotion of the site and the show afterwards. So I want to get as much time as I possibly can with her. And if you guys have a question for Leslie, feel free to put it in the chat room. If you're over at YouTube, you can chat with us there. If you are on Spreaker Chat, I can see that as well. So, of course, you can chat in Spreaker. And if you're watching us on Facebook, you're on your own. I don't monitor Facebook and stuff. So, Leslie, welcome back.
Thanks. Hey, Jeff, tell me your birth date again.
October 21st.
1969.
1969, yes, ma'am.
All right. So you want to tell you a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Okay, so
let me tell you something. I am, tell the good stuff, but you can tell the bad stuff. I'm not bashful about it.
Okay. No, I'm not going to. I'm just going to. There's nothing bad ever. Remember, I told you that already. It is what it is.
Yeah.
There's always a good way and a bad way to use a chart. Okay, so you have five planets in Libra. So you are Libra on top of Libra on top of Libra. So that's why that whole fairness thing is kind of your obsession. And it's very interesting that your planet of communication, I told you, is also in Libra. And it's holding hands with two very interesting outer planets, Jupiter and Uranus. So everything with you is about talking. So you're in the perfect profession.
Oh really?
And yes, and sometimes, though, because of the planet Jupiter next to Mercury, sometimes you have to be careful of talking too much, because it's like very big, the way you use words, lots and lots of words. So, but it's great for your profession. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that's really interesting about your chart is that, get back to the car analogy, every car has 4 tires, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so in astrological language, using metaphor, every one of us usually has 4 tires that are filled with 4 different elements: fire, earth, air, and water. So fire is passion and red-blooded anger and fighting, and water is emotions, think of tears and feelings, and earth is practicality, groundedness, and things like food and money. Money comes from the earth. And then there's air. Air is like getting a bird's eye view, intellect, space. You have a ton of air in your chart, which is all about the mind, which is all those Libra planets are all air. But you have absolutely no fire in your chart.
Really?
So it's an imbalance here that sometimes can show up in physical ways. But people who are low in fire, they sometimes hate to be hot, or they love to be hot, or they get really angry, or they never get angry. There's usually an extreme. Yeah. People who have no water, they either become Olympic level swimmers or they hate to swim. So there's some kind of giant swinging of the pendulum whenever somebody's missing an element. So I don't know how that plays in your life.
I'll tell you, when I get hot, I get hot. I said, when someone I feel has done something wrong to me or anybody else, you're like I said, I've been known to tell people to go whatever themselves and jump out the window.
Very quick. Yeah,
yes.
You have a quick. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you can spark really easily with this lack of fire. So you have to watch out with that, and you have to literally put fire into your life with intention. So someone like you, it would be really good for you to do like any of the martial arts to get out that kind of righteous rage, anger, get it out in a physical way.
You know what's really funny? I like to shoot guns and blow things up. Is that
beautiful? Yeah, that's perfect for someone with no fire. Good, keep doing it. Yeah, because see, you're, and some people who have no fire, they're smokers because they're craving fire. They go looking for the very thing they're missing.
Yeah, no,
See what I mean? It shows up. You're not a smoker, though, are you?
I'm not. I've done very well I used to smoke cigars, and I stopped doing it, because of my voice, and to keep my voice in shape, because it's a muscle that I have to maintain to do this show 4 hours every night, 5 days a week. So I quit doing cigars. But the other thing too is I've been known that if you need a campfire built, I'm pretty much the guy that you call to do it. Everybody in my family, when we're out camping in the woods and stuff, I am the fire guy. I can start fire with 2 sticks.
Yeah, you should always have a fireplace. You want to put fire into your life in a good way.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then it can become a problem because it's not something you manufacture in your own natal chart.
Sure. I see that. Like I said, I've been known to fly off that. I've been very good recently because, the show and working with some of the other guests that are on the show to like center myself and get those feelings down. But yeah, when I to blow off steam, yeah, I like to shoot things and not animals. I shoot targets. I'm not, I don't kill animals, but shoot targets, and I like to to blow things up for fun. And Florida's a great state to do that in, by the way.
That's good. So Texas. The other thing you've got, I just want to tell you quickly, is that you actually do have something called Moon Square Neptune, which is a preeminent sign of people who have to be careful of addictions and alcoholism, and that is on your mother's side of the family. Is there alcoholism on your mother's side?
Well, there's alcoholism here. I am a recovering alcoholic and drug addict years ago when I was younger, 19. 20. I did a stint in rehab, and I've been clean and sober ever since. So.
Yeah, but you come by this naturally through your mother's side of the family,
which makes sense because everybody on my mother's side, we're all drinkers. They're all drinkers. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why I will tell you now. It's weird. I'll have like a beer, a week, or I get yelled at by Sandy because I never finish it. It's not something that appeals to me anymore. It's just, it's weird. For me, I just grew up is what it is.
Well, that's again where just because it's in the chart, you're supposed to outgrow this chart. You're supposed to, you had the tendency towards alcoholism in the chart and you outgrew it, and now it's no longer an issue. Yeah. But it was there, and that's why I want people to understand that this is not a permanent thing. This is just your owner's manual. Sure. When you tune up your car and you drive it the right way, it's going to be a pleasure to own it,
Yeah. Yep. So, and to be honest, I look back at it now, and there was a time in which I was embarrassed, but it's part of my, how do you say it? It's part of my story of who I am and where I become. And it's also part of my ministry that I do to let people know that, hey, look, you can make a decision, you can make a choice, and you can turn this around, and you don't have to live this way, and you're not condemned to live this way the rest of your life. You can turn it around with hard work and doing the right things. And look at me. I mean, I'm a living example of it. I'm a successful business person and, talk show host and living life. I have I got 3 beautiful girls, 2 granddaughters and a grandson. So yeah.
Wow.
And I'm here, and it's cool, and I'm alive, and I'm living every day. So it's a great ministry for me. So.
That's great. So the other thing I was going to tell you is not only do you have that righteous rage, plus the wanting to have fighting in a way, there's another aspect in your chart too that indicates that you can get into battles. So it's something else you have to just be a little careful of. You can feel as if people are coming at you, especially when you were younger.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that might have been your father. It's hard for me to tell because I don't have your birth time, but looks like somebody was on your case.
Yeah, that's you pretty much nailed that one right on the head.
Yeah. So what do you think of astrology now? I mean, I don't even have your right birth time, and I'm able to tell you things that I'm not like pussyfooting around here. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, direct. No, this is direct stuff. You see, and this is the thing that I think a lot of people need to understand is that you are directly saying boom, where I think a lot of people's experiences is that, and I know the power of words, and I know the legalese, and I know how you can manipulate words and then carve them into like a testimony or a person's personal statement. And I get that and using generalities. And no, I love the fact that you were direct and said, this is where this came from. This is where this came from. And I'll be the first one to tell you, yeah, everything you said is right dead on.
And I don't know anything about you at all.
Nope.
So.
We've never talked before. We, just via email and everything. So that's dead on. I have to say, I'm yes, and how do I say that? Because out of my desire to be fairness, I know that there are, I want to be, see, this is what's really funny about me, because you just said it. I don't want to put anybody down and say this. My experience with astrology was, the Cleo lines or what, the 900 lines. The guy's laughing at me in the chat room for saying that. And I know that was just a moneymaker. That was prying on people at their weakest, situation. Is a lot of those.
Well, there's a lot of that out there. And but you mean, truly, astrology, I've been studying it for 30 years, and I'm still not finished understanding it. It is the deepest study a human being can do, because just as soon as you think you've got a handle on one part of it, you learn more and more. And when I first started, I never wanted to be an astrologer. Don't forget, I was writing and illustrating children's books. The last thing on earth I wanted to do was astrology. This was not something that I was terrified of it. I was afraid people were going to think I was doing the work of the devil. I was afraid people were going to think I was a fortune teller. I had no interest in this at all. And I also had no interest in talking to total strangers and telling them things in their chart that, like I just did for you, like I'm very adamant when I see things. I'm not, it's what it is. And so anyway, not something I ever thought I would be doing.
So basically, and I think it's important because, you didn't seek this out. You were 19 years old, trying to figure out where you needed to go with your life, like most 19-year-old kids are.
Right.
Well, I know 30, 40-year-old adults that are still trying to figure out. So you go see an astrologist. You get into the creativity. Now, you wrote the children's books, and then you said, well, wait, this astrology kind of led me here, and so I want to know more about this? And that's how you got back into the astrology, or?
No, what happened was, well, first of all, believe it or not, I have a connection with Japan as well. My children's books were rejected for over 13 years, and I was always told repeatedly that I had absolutely no talent, that I couldn't draw. Oh. And I had started a T-shirt design company, was selling T-shirts out of the back of my car, and I wrote to Glamour magazine and told them they should do a story about me, and they did. And Takashimaya, the very high-end Japanese department store, saw this article, and they said, we want to make you famous in Japan. Now, one of the things the astrologer told me, she said, my work would first be picked up overseas. She said, you would not have success in the United States at first. It would be in another country. So all of a sudden, I'm selling T-shirts out of the back of my car, and then all of a sudden I'm in Japan, and I was a famous designer in Japan for 12 years, and that's where my books were first published. It was in Japanese. Oh, and then eventually they were published in England and then the United States, and now I've sold over 2 million copies of my books all over the world. So I just came back from California. I just did a TED Talk in Hollywood about the importance of being wrong, because for most of my life I was told I had no talent and that I was wrong about everything. But how I got into astrology is that I was a secret astrologer. I didn't want anybody to know I could do it. And eventually friends found out about it because it was such a deep passion of mine. And I teach at Rancho La Puerta, a spa in Mexico, a class on creativity. And I've been doing that in the corporate world as well. I do workshops on creative thought. And one time I said, let me just teach astrology once. It's such a fun thing for me to talk about. And of all the times to teach, there happened to be in the audience a very famous literary agent who came up to me afterwards and said, Leslie, forget children's books. You're amazing about astrology. I don't even believe in astrology, but you make me want to know about it. So you've got to do a book. And I said, well, wait a minute. I don't even have a website. I don't have a business card.
Yeah.
She said, don't worry. I'm going to help you. And so for 2 years, she helped me and sold my book to HarperCollins. And basically, the second part of my chart, the astrologer said, you know, you're an artist, you're a writer, creative person. But she also told me that I had a great ability as an astrologer and that eventually I would need to be in service to human beings in a bigger way. Sure. And this is part 2. And now here I am.
Here you are, you're reinventing it. But please don't give up your children's books, please.
No, I'm still doing that. That's part of my soul, too. But
yeah.
And one reason I think I'm so good at astrology is that I have a very visual way of explaining it, and I'm used to making complicated things simple.
Yep.
So there's a way to teach astrology that's user-friendly. It doesn't have to take 30 years to learn how to read a chart. There's a way to do it.
And the power of Mercury, and I mean, I want to let people know, I mean, you heard HarperCollins in their audience. You don't get published by HarperCollins unless you've got something definitely going for you. It's just, I mean, that right, when I saw that, I was like, old smokes. Now we're playing with, I mean, because we've had New York best-selling authors on the show before and stuff, and I know what literary agents and I know the names because I reach out to them all the time. That's how we get most of our guests, is through these literary agents. And HarperCollins is one of those ones that I'm afraid to touch them. I don't want to send anything to them because they're like, because that fear of rejection, right? Yeah, this guy's a flake. So we won't do that. But, let's talk about the power of Mercury. We have a lot of, people in the chat room now that are asking, where does one start? Because there's so much stuff out there on the internet, Leslie, as you know. There's so many it's almost overwhelming. And then you find out I've fallen in this pit when I go out to look for knowledge on a subject matter, and you get into it, you pay the fee, you take and it's like, that was useless. I mean, if I was wanting to learn about astrology, and I am personally for my own benefit, where would you recommend? Where would I start? Oh, did we lose? Well, it looks like we lost our guest. Let me give Leslie a call. Real quick. See, that's what happens. They don't want us to know.
Message system.
Huh. That is really bizarre. So we'll try to get Leslie back onto the show here. We'll continue to call her. Maybe her phone died. That's a problem when you do phones. See, Mercury's in retrograde. I don't want to say that. That's just so rude, so wrong in so many ways. So let's give her a call here and see if we can do that. And I promise you, I will ask the question again.
Sorry about that.
Hey, Leslie, how are you? Hey, Mercury's in retrograde. Someone said in chat.
I know. See, that's why it can happen anytime. But if it was Mercury retrograde, everyone would blame it on that. That's perfect.
Yeah. So no. So I don't know where you heard, but the question I had is, as a new person wanting to learn more about astrology and kind of take the path that you did, and obviously you've been doing this 30 plus years. The question is where does one start? What reputable, where do we start?
I have a webinar, a beginner level class in astrology that people can purchase, and it's like 8 hours of lessons that you can listen to at your leisure. And that's one way to do it. There are also some good websites out there that have some lessons in astrology, like Cafe Astrology, I think is a good one. And then there are videos. I think Rick Levine is a good astrologer. He has some videos that are easy to understand. And I tell people to just go to a bookstore and just look at astrology books and see which ones resonate with you. And it's a language. It's like learning Japanese. You have to learn the language of astrology. And one thing I'd love to do is teach classes live. So if anybody wants to get a group of people together, I love teaching because I bring costumes and I make the chart come alive. I use music and props, and you actually get to see how these archetypes, which we all have in our charts, kind of work together, and how we're all, it's the language of compassion, Jeff, because once you understand you are what you are, you don't get so upset when people don't do what you want them to do, because you look at their chart and you say, well, they can't help it. That's what they are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And what's really funny is that I've, through other methods, that is one thing I've been working with a couple of our guests who've come on here, and through, proper meditation and just understand that, and I guess empath kind of behavior, or not empath kind of stuff. I am now, things where people would upset me, or where I've always had an issue. How do I say this? I don't like crowds. And let me tell you why, because when I'm in crowds, I always feel like I'm getting hit with a ton of different emotions, and it just messes with me. Tremendous. It's always done that. And Sandy would laugh because she's like, Jeff, you don't like crowds, but yet you always want to be around these people. You always want to be around people. You do radio where thousands of people, you talk to them every night. And I'm like, but that's different because I'm not in physical contact with them. And what I have learned, where some of the guests, is the empath side. So now what I'm doing, and this is kind of freaking Sandy out a little bit, is I pick up on people's emotions. And I will do things that counter, like if someone's sad about something, I'll pay them a compliment. And it doesn't matter who they are. I just say, hey, I just want to let you know, you're a good person. Hang in there. And it just comes out of the blue. And then if someone's angry, I'm like, hey, just calm down, man. Just relax. Life is good. Life is good. And they kind of look at me funny, but I've learned how to do that with some of the other training that I've received and stuff. And I think with this, especially with the astrology, I think I can carry it one step further, because you can see the bigger picture, not the picture at the moment, but the bigger picture that led to the moment, and the type of person, like what sets. But the other part of that is obviously I'm not going to go up to someone and ask them what their birthday was.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. I always tell people, don't, you use this information carefully. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind giving mine out because it's already out there. I don't, when you do this business, you learn, you lifelock everything. You lifelock everything, and it's crazy what gets out there already. So like I said, I don't have a problem telling you mine, because it's out there. Anywho, but the thing is how do you do that? How do you use astrology or use without knowing the person's birthday? And I mean, is there well, you have to have their birth date. I mean, you don't have to have the time or the place to get some basic information about someone's chart. And people can go to, if they go to my website, lesliemcguirk.com, you can actually put in your birth date and find out where Mercury was when you were born, and get a little snippet of a reading about your chart. And then there are other sites like astro.com where you can actually put in your birth information, date, time, and place, and you can get your chart read, but it's a little tricky. It's not as easy to use.
Sure. And then you said there's software now that does it all for you?
Yes.
See, that seems dangerous.
There's a magazine called, is it dangerous? Is that what you asked?
Well, that seems dangerous, because then anybody can then put the stuff in there. And I still think that they're, it's kind of like WebMD, where I put in my symptomology. You still need to have a doctor read that stuff.
Well, the software it's all just astrological language. If you bought the software, you would be like, what the hell is this about? I can't understand it at all. So there's no software out there that will actually interpret and in a deep way what's really going on in someone's chart. So you don't have to worry about that.
Okay,
it's not
good.
dangerous at all.
Good, because I was thinking, once again, we have this software that's spitting this stuff out, and it's like, you need someone to interpret it. And then talk about interpretation. We are talking with our guest Leslie. Can you go another segment? I know that we.
Sure, I'll do one more segment. Sure.
One more. Okay. Perfect. So that means everybody, make sure you get your questions in the chat rooms, because Leslie will be with us for one more break. We're going to take a very quick break. I hope this is enlightening. I've learned a lot, and I'm gonna revisit. I'm definitely gonna revisit, and I'm definitely going to be taking the courses, because I find this stuff fascinating. It's amazing. It's amazing how much we think we know when we really realize we know nothing. We'll be back in a few with our very special guest, astrologer Leslie McGuirk.
This is the Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network. Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network.
That is right, Andrew. It is the Midnight Ocean radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton, cruising you through the evening, this Friday evening. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. I am. Learning a lot. Some of the myths and mythology of astrology has been opened up. I've seen the light, as they would say. I see the light. And we're talking with our very special guest, astrologer, author, Leslie McGuirk, talking about her new book on astrology. And it is entitled, for those that don't know, The Power of Mercury, Understanding Mercury Retrograde and Unlocking the Astrological Secrets of Communication. And you can, if you're interested in purchasing Leslie's book, obviously you can go out and go to her website and purchase it, or you can go to the midnightocean.com, click on Leslie's author page. It's the first one that's up there tonight. And then you can scroll down and click on it and buy from Amazon directly there. There is no markups, no nothing. It just helps us out. It's a way that you can help us with the show and keeping it free for you guys to listen. Leslie, I will let you know, Joey, our in the chat room, went out and put their information in there, got it back, and their response was, "This is very cool information."
Oh, good.
So we have people that are out there, and everybody that's listening to us on YouTube as well, you guys can go out to Leslie's site. If you go to the midnightocean.com, I have a link to her site, and you can put your information in there and get a complimentary reading. Is it reading? Is that the proper term? It's not reading. It's analysis, right? Or owner's manual.
Yeah, I call it a session.
A session.
It's just a session. And one of the things I want to tell everybody is that the book is extremely useful for all relationships. So if you have a child that's just difficult for you to communicate with, this book will really help, because when you understand the way that their wiring is compared to yours, it could be that it's difficult, but there's always a way to make it work. And the other thing that's really useful is anyone who's single and who's dating, this is a book that should be by your bedside table, because you can look up the birth date of the guys or the women that you're dating and figure out whether or not there's going to be any hope for having easy communications with this person. And that's a really useful tool, because I think dating is very scary. So,
well, this is the thing that now, see, this is the old Jeff talking. Now, Sandy and we've been high school sweethearts. We haven't been together since high school, but we were high school sweethearts. We went our separate ways, and then, through life and everything, we came back together, and we've been together now almost 15 years. And what's really funny is I'm sitting here as a guy going, all right, in my bachelor days, I would buy this book and put it next to my nightstand. Actually, I'd put it on my coffee table, because when I was entertaining, because I find that most women are fascinated by astrology. Most guys, I think if a guy saw a book, I know in my older days, if I saw a book, I'd be looking for the cat as well.
Right.
I'll be like, where's the cat at? And I hate to say it, but I'm just telling you, I mean, that tells you how my mind works.
Right. No, it's true. But I think that what I tried to do when I wrote this book, I wrote it for people who don't believe in astrology, and I want people to start using it as a tool to help bring some kind of understanding to human beings. And I think it's useful in business. Let's say you have a boss that drives you crazy. Look up their birth date and say, well, no wonder.
That's actually, that's a very good point. I'm glad you said that, because this book is, you said it's geared towards people that don't believe. And yes. Oh, wow. Very rarely do we get authors that write books for those that don't believe. And
well, because I'm sort of obsessed with demystifying astrology, and because it's been such a useful tool for me to have peace in my life.
Yeah.
that I think that it's my duty to share anything that can help make people's lives easier. I'm all for it. And that's what I think astrology is meant to do. I think it's one of the most beautiful gifts we have on the planet, and it's just one of the most misunderstood things as well. And that just makes me crazy because, I mean, look at myself. I didn't even want to admit to people 3 years ago that I was an astrologer, and yet I have this ability that really helps people. So that wasn't very smart of me to be hiding, but.
Well, I empathize with you on that one because when I was doing conservative talk radio and, very right leaning, I didn't want people to know that I was a social conscious libertarian at heart. And so, I obviously believe that people need to be the answer, not governments, not people making decisions for us, but the people. We need to come together as a group. Only we can tell what we need as a people. But I also believe that we have a moral and ethical obligation to take care of people that can't take care of themselves. So and I get it. And it's kind of like when you come out of the closet, and do these types of shows, people, and that's what's amazing because most of the people that followed me in my hardcore, demigod political talk that I used to do have followed me over to this show. And, then of course we're bringing more of the, I don't want to say hippies or anything, more of the esoteric people that believe in esoteric things. And what's so cool about our show is because literally on one side of the fence, we have guys who are, gun-toting American flag, those types. And then on the other side, we got the peace, love, and we all come together in the middle. And this show is kind of like the common thread. It's awesome. Who would ever think that you could have two different groups of individuals coming together and communicating with each other? And, we've had problems. We've had to tell people we have a rule in our chat room, no direct attacks and no response. If you respond to someone attacking you in the chat room and calling you names, you're out of here just as quick as the guy that actually did it. And, it seems where we get along with those rules. Life nice. Is good. But no, I understand. There's a part that, who would ever think 3 years ago when I was doing my stuff that I was in the background, listening to Art Bell and the esoteric stuff and going, I actually do believe there are aliens and I actually do believe there are reptoids and I actually do believe in all of these different things, because that doesn't traditionally go with hardcore red blood conservative values and everything. So, hey, it's refreshing. It's revealing. But, so besides so we can go out to your website, we can sign up for your seminar, and also get your book. I definitely, not that I wasn't going to recommend your book to begin with, but for those people out there on the right, I'm going to say, and I'm looking over to the right side of the screen because they tend to stay over on YouTube. You guys out there on the right, get out there and get the book, because it sounds like, Leslie's book is geared directly for you guys and stuff for the people that don't believe in the world of astrology. And, get the book and, match the dates up. Pick your friends. How cool would that be? You sit around when you guys are, sitting around the dinner table and, or sitting around your podcast, pull up each other's birth dates and see if they match. I think they will. I mean, that was pretty canning that what you did for me pretty quickly. And the fact that Joey said the same thing. They just went to your site and did it. And that's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I think that's what people have to experience it themselves to understand that there's some truth to this. Yeah. And I always tell everybody, believe nothing that I tell you, but entertain the possibility that I might be right. Yeah. So just be open and experience it yourself, and then you determine. And my hope is that people start thinking of astrology as something that's very comforting.
Yeah. I know a lot of people will kind of view it as the devil's work, that I can hear that. I can hear that in some people's mind where they say, well, that astrology is part of the devil. I mean, where the roots of astrology in your history, where did it actually come? I know you talked about, famous people who subscribe to astrology, but do you know where it actually started? Who started astrology?
It's been like BC, old ancient symbols were found written on bones of the different star formations. People have been studying the stars for a very, very long time. But because back then, that was like their television. That was entertainment because it was a constant show of planets moving and star formations coming around. And it's in all cultures. In India, they have something called Vedic astrology. China, they have astrology. Every single culture had it. And even think about when Jesus was born, the three wise men who were following the Star of David, they were the Magi, and Magi actually means astrologer. It used to be that astrologers were considered very high-level people, and the whole thing with the Magi finding baby Jesus, that it used to be that astrologers were revered, and then it became just the opposite, where they were thought to be doing the work of the devil and evil and horrible. And when, again, I told you, if you don't go to a good astrologer, an astrologer could hurt you. And so you do have to be careful. And that's why I think they say in the Bible to stay away from people who tell the fortunes. But that's not what I do, because it's different. People have to understand that there's good and bad in everything. You can go to a bad doctor or a good doctor. You can go to a good astrologer or a bad one. And somebody who's only studied astrology for a year or two, I would not want to go to them, because there's no way that they would have the depth of knowledge that somebody like myself, who's been doing it for 30 years, would have. Same thing with going to a doctor. Do you want a surgeon who's just out of college to do operating on your heart, or you want to go to someone who's been doing it for a long time?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I mean, and you can answer this or not answer this. I mean, so you've been doing it. I think part of this is experience. I mean, what mistakes have you made along the way as an astrologer?
That's a really interesting question. Nothing is coming to mind at the moment. Oh. The only mistake I could say I made was that I didn't want to use this gift. I mean, that was kind of selfish in a way. I would say that was the biggest. I've just never had anything negative happen to me with it. I've just had nothing but people. Most people, when they get off the phone after they're done with it's a 90-minute session. It's pretty intense. They're relieved. It's like, oh my God, finally, I feel like somebody knows me. I feel like I've been seen and I'm not crazy. My mother was nuts or what, whatever.
Sure. And I think that you said that you have, as long as you have honest people, you said that you've actually been able to say, hey, look, that's not the date, that's not the time. Based upon this was your time. And you said that they came back and said, yeah, you know what? We did more research. And that
very rarely happens, but sometimes it does. Like sometimes people will say, well, would you please look up my boyfriend's chart? I think he's born this date, blah, blah, blah. I look up and I start describing this person in the same way that I just described your chart. And if the person says, that doesn't sound like him at all, I said, well, then you have the wrong date, because the chart doesn't lie. People will, but the chart doesn't. Yeah. And I once had, I'll tell you one kind of crazy story. I once had a client who I saw that she had something really difficult happen to her in her childhood. There was a lot of trauma in her childhood from something that was unexpected, looked like it was death-related, just something horrible. And she kept insisting that everything was fine and that she had a perfect childhood. And I knew that the chart could not be wrong, but she just didn't want to go there. And then finally, we're almost done, and she said, well, Leslie, when I was 16, I kind of acted out a little bit because I got upset. I said, why'd you get upset? She said, well, my grandmother died. And I said, well, how did she die? Because I was trying to figure out what happened to this girl. And then she said, like in this most casual way, that her grandfather came home from work, bludgeoned her grandmother to death, and wrapped her up in a carpet and buried her under the house. And she spoke of it as if it was just like a day, any other day. And this woman had been carrying this trauma inside of her and had never told anybody. Her husband didn't know. Her children didn't know. And this is not okay. That I'm a big believer that trauma needs to be healed.
Yeah.
So that's
the fact, I mean,
I'm thinking of that one.
I don't want to take anybody's inventory, but the fact that she was so nonchalant about it kind of lends to some other disorders there.
Right. Well, she was in total denial, and she kept insisting she had a beautiful childhood and nothing bad happened. But that was a pivotal moment in her life, and it was something that needed to be healed. And I believe that when we heal ourselves, we actually heal our children, and that's a really important thing to do. You don't want to pass along your muck to your kids.
Well, yeah, I mean, we actually had individual on the show 2 days ago. And Brendan was talking about how DNA changes, and it does alter itself through your life and your life experiences. It has been proven that your DNA will change, and depending upon where you're at with your life, and when you conceive children, because you're giving them part of that DNA chain, that that's that whole thing about inheriting your parents' sins or whatever. That is true. I mean, you are passing on your DNA at the time that this event or these events were happening, and you do affect your children. Now you can change your DNA. I mean, and people do change. We do change DNA quite frequently, more so than what we think. It's not something that's written, and as you get older, DNA changes.
I agree.
So it was amazing to hear him say that. And then, of course, I immediately had to go do the research, and he's absolutely right. They're saying that your DNA can change up to 3 times or up to every 3 years, depending upon your exposure, the environment, things that you've ingested, things that you've, all sorts of ingestion, be chemicals, pesticides, all of that stuff manipulates your DNA. And then, of course, stress is a huge factor in that. The research is just uncanny. It's incredible. And the fact that she carried that with her in a denial state, I mean, that must have just wreaked havoc on her DNA.
Yes.
And who she was. Did she, I mean, after she said that to you though, did it all open up, or was she like, you said nonchalant about it after
I told her that this was extremely important to heal this trauma so that her daughters didn't pick up on it, because children will pick up on a parent's trauma and stress.
Yep.
Like my mother, her mother died giving birth to my mother, and in my chart it shows I have a particular aspect of trauma around death in the mother. Well, my mother didn't die, but my mother's mother died. And when I was a kid, I was terrified. Every time I saw a pregnant woman, I thought she was going to die. So my mother never dealt with her trauma, and so I carried it. And that's not healthy. That's not mine to carry. That did not happen to me.
Wow. So you actually, now wait a minute. So your grandmother passed away during labor for your mother. Yeah. You knew this, or did you not know this as a child?
Oh, I knew it. Yeah, I knew it my entire life, because my mother was always extremely upset about it and would cry at the drop of the hat anytime she talked about not having a mother.
Gotcha. And then you carried that feeling on, that concern. Okay.
Yeah, and it shows in my chart that I would do that I would literally carry my mother's pain. And my karmic lesson is to not carry my mother's pain. This is not mine to carry. So part of my duty in this lifetime is to realize I don't have to do this. This is not mine.
Yeah. I mean, we do. We carry so much. I mean, people do. And and that's why I'm a firm believer, voids. I talk about voids on the show quite a bit. And when I'm talking with certain guests, I talk about those voids, and they want to be filled. And so the thing is you can fill them with good positive energy or the negative energy, the things that are going to hold you back or withhold you from your potential. But voids, like anything, they're going to be filled eventually. And you need to choose what you're going to fill those voids with, be it a loss of a person, loss of, any negative, any negative aspect in your life, even positive aspects, but more so negative aspects. And, you can either, when you shrug off a negative aspect of your life, you can replace it with a negative aspect, or you're going to replace it with light. And that's the exercise I'm going through in my life, is I'm shedding all of the negative things, the negativity, and I'm replacing them with light, things that protrude light. And instead of, getting angry at people quicker, I'm getting rid of that, and I'm replacing them with, instead of saying those hateful words, I'm replacing them and say, hey, I get it. I understand, let's sleep on this, or instead of me getting angry and feeding into it. And that's the exercise that I'm learning through different, but like I said, your book, The Power of Mercury, and then also your teachings and everything show me that I can actually add a dimension to my understanding of my fellow human being, and understand where they're coming from. Because I don't know where that hatred or anger or dismay in their life comes from. I don't. And maybe if we knew that, we would treat people differently. Like I said.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that it's just completely in our power to look at people, that they are what they are, and we have to accept people for how they are. Sure.
Yeah, and not try to change them. Just accept them. Say, yeah, but it does. Like I said, it gives me I know use the car analogy. I know you're a race car, and I know that you're going to, your desire is to run fast and loose, and I get that now. That's the kind of analogy where I know you're a pickup truck and you like to waller in the mud or whatever.
Right. And you're not going to yell at a pickup truck because it's not going to win the Daytona 500.
That's right.
It's like, just, you let it go. But that's where it's really important if you're a parent. Like, I'll tell you a story, a happy story. I had two people who did not believe in astrology at all. They're a wealthy couple. They were both fire signs, tons and tons of fire in their charts. And they have this one child, he was 15, and he was a slug on the couch, and they were so disgusted with him because these parents were high achievers, and this son was doing nothing. So they were at their wits' end. They didn't know what to do, so they called me to look at his chart. And I saw that this child, his chart was mostly all water, and he didn't have any fire. So these are two elements that are not compatible. So think of in nature, water puts out fire or vice versa. But what I saw in the kid's chart was that he was a born swimmer, and that if he could learn to go fast in his element, which was water, that his parents would accept him because they could only relate to speed and fire and all that intensity. So they looked at me when I said this, and they laughed, and they said, well, he doesn't even really know how to swim. I said, I don't care. Get him in the pool. Well, within a year, this kid was one of the top swimmers in Florida, and people couldn't believe he was such a natural, and he ended up getting a scholarship and is going to an Ivy League school in Massachusetts right now, and just doing really, really well. And the parents, that I don't know what would have happened to this kid if they hadn't called me in to help. And that's not something that a therapist can do. Yeah. That's where astrology is a very specific, useful tool, and I'm not a therapist, and I send a ton of people to go see therapists because there are certain things, like what I described in my chart around, death of the mother in my chart. That was something that, 20 years of therapy that I spent working on healing that issue, which is, if I had known earlier what I know now, I wouldn't have spent 20 years in therapy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's amazing, though. If I knew what I know now, and there's times where, I hate to say it, but I've been doing this. I've been doing a lot of dreamscaping. In other words, going back in my past with the knowledge that I have now in the future. And this is probably a really crazy topic. But one of the things is I've been going into the past with the knowledge I have now and actually reshaping a lot of events that have happened to me. And I'm also going in the future with, and putting bells out there. I'll put things out there in my future, and it's a form of, it's esoteric time travel is what it is. But being able to kind of, clean up, it doesn't mean that you change the past. It just means that in your subconscious, in your mind, the things that you did that were wrong, you carry that with you. For me, I did some stupid things as a kid to other people, mean things, just mean things. And you carry that with yourself. And so I would kind of go in the past and I fix it. And what it does, I guess, somewhere in the psyche, it resolves that issue for me. And I can move on. I
totally agree with that.
I can move on into the future. I make my amends for what I stop myself from doing those things. And I've done that. That's part of my dreamscaping project that I'm working on, where I being a bully in school, I will be that adult that will walk up and say, I know what you're going to do. You're going to regret it. Don't do it. And of course I see my younger self looking at me going, what the heck is this all about? And of course I don't do it. And that, of course it didn't change the past, but in my mind it did. And then I can release my guilt that I have for doing those things and then move on with my life. And then also in the future, I ring, we had a guest and we placed little bells out there in the future. I've already experienced a couple of my bells where I will do something in the future. I'll get in my truck. I'll leave myself a message in my vehicle. I did it today and I don't know how it got there, but I had a poker chip from Mapes Hotel that was in Reno, Las Vegas. And I keep it. It means something to me because I was there when they had imploded it. I was, worked with it. My buddy's family was the company that did the demolition. So I was able to, play around on tools and drive truck. So this little poker chip meant something to me. And sure enough, I got in the truck today and it was sitting on the console, which normally it sits inside the console. And today it was on, and that was one of my little dreamscape projects that I did. I envisioned into the future of doing that and dropping it there on the console. And sure enough, today it was on the console. And I was like, wow, and I call it ringing the bell because you go towards it, because that told me I needed to do something today and I did it. And sure enough, the result that I was expecting for doing that happened today, which is pretty cool. So, yeah. That's
awesome.
Yeah, life is
so
full.
Much about life that's mysterious, and we have so much more to learn about it.
Absolutely. And, and I think that what you're doing gives us another tool, gives me another tool, because part of my journey and some of our listeners' journey, I hope, is to become a better person. And part of that is understanding the people around us and the fact that you've put out a book that explains it explains why people do what they do. I think that helps us tremendously of being able to navigate in this congested world of people that are just numb. I think you talked about that too. We talked about that in your intro, is that, people are just so numb these days. So.
Yes, and people have forgotten how to listen and communicate and be present. So anything we can do to increase that is going to make for happier families, happier companies, all of it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think the day of, and I'm seeing a shift in corporations. Some corporations get it, and some I don't think will ever get it. But I am starting to see a shift in corporations where they actually are starting to listen to the talent in which they have hired. As a consultant, it was funny when I was working at Northwestern University, I had a professor buddy of mine, and we created a theorem called when you no longer become the expert. And the theorem basically, when you ran it out to yourself, it's the day you no longer become the expert is the day that you get hired by the company. And
interesting.
They, companies and corporations, instead of looking at the people that they hire and treating them like I have the best team. An NFL football coach, he thinks every one of his players is the best player out there. Now, granted, well, some of them do. Some of them will say, well, Brett Favre or whoever's better as a quarterback. But for the most part, they think that they have the best players better. And corporations, unfortunately, don't think that. They think, oh, we hired this person, but they don't think he's the expert or she is the expert.
Right.
They don't think that. And that's something that we have to change. Like, look, you hired this person. They are the expert for you. Stop looking elsewhere. But it's amazing. That's why I stay in consulting. And I've always been a consultant all my life. I don't work for corporations. I'm a consultant to them. And I can't tell you how many times I say, this guy that you're paying, half my salary, he can do exactly what I just told you. Why weren't you listening to him? And it's
Good for you.
And they're like, well, it's like, start listening to your people. I mean, that's the best advice I can give you as a corporate that hired me. Start listening to your people and you'll be okay. And that's kind of, I think, counterintuitive, but I'm getting out of that business. So that's why I'm doing this full time. So
good.
Well, Leslie, our time, I know you have graciously gone over a little bit of our allotted time. Is there anything you want to tell the audience? Obviously your website, how they can reach you, if you're doing seminars, things of that nature.
Well, everything's on my website, so where I'm going to be teaching, and if anyone's interested in having me teach, I love teaching groups, so that's one of my favorite things to do. My passion is now teaching astrology. That's phase 2 for me. Doing readings is great, but I can only do so many of those, and sure. I'd much rather teach people so that other people can start using this gift. So
you ought to put
my website and go ahead.
Well, I was going to say you ought to put together a group. I have a real good friend who does dreamscapes. And what she did is that she's teaching other people how to do that, and then they have a group now that where she because she grew her business so big that she couldn't do it herself, and so now she has a Facebook group and she has her little dreamscape group, 20 or 30 people that she's trained, and they help people with their dreams, interpreting their dreams.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to start working on. Wow. I'm going to start certifying people to do it the way I do it.
Sure.
Which would be great.
Sure. So, well, I'm going to go through your course.
Good.
I'm definitely going to go through your course. I know that we probably have 2 or 3 other people in the chat room that you'll be hearing from us soon enough. But
good.
But the website for those. It's Leslie McGuirk. That's spelled LESLIEMCGUIRK.com. I got that right, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I had to go back. Yeah. So, but get out there and take a look. I'm looking on your website right now, and I'm looking at your illustration with the Takashimaya? Is it Takashimaya?
Takashimaya, yeah.
Takashimaya. Yeah. Wow. That's cool stuff.
I even did the redecoration of the Tokyo Disneyland Hotel. And remember, I have no training in art at all.
Wow. That's cool stuff. I would wear it.
Soon, the TED Talk that I just did will be up, too, so people can look for that, too, because that's all about my life as an artist and what I went through and what happened to me creatively. So that should be fun for people to see, too.
Yep. Disney, Mitsubishi, Jim Henson, MoMA, Panasonic. Wow. This is the who's who.
I've done a lot. I have no regrets. I feel like, wow, when I look at what I've done with my life and in my life, who I've met, where I've traveled, what I've accomplished, it's like I've packed a lot in.
See, I'm looking for like a 5X design of one of your shirts. I don't see one though. I do see your Earthwatcher draft beer. Are you actually doing draft beer, or was that just a proto?
That was a prototype.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't do a beer, but bottle.
How cool is that?
Beer can.
How cool is that, though? I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And stuff.
I
do
did
like
everything else, toilet seat covers to aprons, over 1,500 products in Japan with my designs on them.
Well, they do have T-shirts.
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't have 5X, though. They don't have American size.
No, they don't. Everything's tiny over there.
Yes, as I know.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm a giant. I am 6'6", and I'm one of those football players that we were talking about earlier. But
right.
Oh, great stuff. So yeah, get out to Leslie's website, take a look. Also get signed up for her astrology program. I'm on your astrology site. I see obviously the Mercury, but I'm looking for so I can do direct links. Where is your courses?
Well, you have to email me to get that. I have to individually send that to people.
Okay.
And so yeah, that hasn't been put up there yet, but it's coming.
It's coming.
But
okay.
Just email me. My contact information is there. So
yep. Under
easy
contact.
enough to do.
All right. We will definitely I will definitely be in touch with you, and I know there's probably a few other listeners who will be in touch because they're talking here in the chat room. So, well, Leslie, thank you very much. I'll let you get back to your now Saturday morning.
Right.
And,
thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, it was great talking to
Have
you.
Have a great weekend.
Oh, you too. You too. Be well. Be well.
Thanks.
Bye now. There you go, Leslie McGuirk joining us, astrologer. Wow. I'm sold. I'm ready to go. I found something that's new and add it, I guess, to the quiver of subjects that I deal with here. And also, Christy, welcome to the show. I see you in chat room. What I want to do is we're going to retool here, and we will take a quick 6-minute break, maybe. And when we get back from that break, we will resume. I will be taking your calls. We're going to open up the lines, and we will then be taking your calls as we roll on into the Saturday morning. Love to hear from you guys, but we'll take a quick 6-minute break, and then when we get back, we will open up the phone lines for you. That is right, Andrew. This is the Midnight Ocean Radio Show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us here every weeknight from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or on the web at www.themidnightocean.com as we cruise into the early morning of Saturday. Thank you for hanging out there with us. We appreciate it. Now, this is the time of the night where we focus on you, the audience. So you can give us a call. The lines are open. If you're using Skype, you can Skype us at TMO Listener. If you want to call us on the phone, you can call us at 352-388-3900. That is area code 352-388-3900. We will take your calls. It's, like I said, it's all about you for the rest of the evening as we sail into the night. Wow. What a show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Astrology, got a little taste of it. There's so much more to come. Didn't want to overwhelm you guys with it. It is a science. I know a lot of people won't say that. Oh, by the way, for those wondering, I'm wearing my Battlestar Galactica hat tonight. I'm feeling a little nostalgic. I think after the show, I think I'm going to go watch the old Battlestar, or the old, better yet, Buck Rogers. The old Buck Rogers, not the black and white Buck Rogers, but the blue Buck. Remember that guy? Squeaky or whatever his name was? I think I'm going to watch that tonight when we get off the air. So if you have a topic that you want to discuss, it is open lines, 352-388-3900. If you don't have a topic, don't want to give me a call, that's cool. I understand. I have a topic. This is something that has been bugging me, and I've been told to say this. And for you guys that listen to me long enough, you will know that when I'm told to say this, it doesn't come from the director. It doesn't come from anything. It comes from internal voices that have told me to say this. Mainstream media, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, stay out of the non-mainstream topics. You guys, I am finding that I was watching, and that's tongue in cheek, by the way, but I was watching CNN today, and the crap they are shoveling is so deep. It's almost like it's pretty bad that when the stuff that we talk about, the esoteric things that we talk about on this show, are more believable, and more believable. I believe in them, and I know our listeners believe in them, are more believable than the crap that they shovel at CNN and and I'm not just going to pick on CNN. I'm going to say Fox, MSNBC, all of that stuff. And they have, how dare them call us alternative media? And that's the way I feel. And if you feel the same way, feel free to give me a call, 352-388-3900, or on the Skype line, TMO Listener. Love to hear from you, taking your calls now. But you guys not agree with me on that? It has gotten so, so crazy that I'm sitting there going, this is insane. And you want to criticize me because I do a show, or you want to laugh at me or have your viewers laugh at me because I talk about UFOs and reptilians and Pleiades and all of the things all the esoteric things that we talk about. And you want to say we live in a fantasy land? How about the crap that you guys shovel every day? And, it's just unbelievable. Let me know what you guys think about that. I will tell you that we have to decide, regardless of the number one. Yeah. I want to tread here. I want to choose my words correctly. I have no fear of my future. None whatsoever. That doesn't mean I don't fear for my children's future. Doesn't mean that I don't feel fear for Sandy's future or my parents or anybody else's future or your future. I, Jeff Norton, have no fear of my future because I have already been told what my future is. Yeah. So I don't fear it. However, I out of kindness and out of wanting to bring everybody along for the ride in the great future that's ahead of me and others like me that are awake, we fear for you. We hope that you get on board. And I had a very good rabbi friend of mine said the problem with death is you no longer have knees to ask for forgiveness. In other words, and he wasn't talking about he was saying that you have basically death. You no longer, you're out of time. You've run out of time to do what you need to do. That was the message. I know a lot of people will be like, well, the knees, whatever. No, you've run out of time. It's over. And so my thing to you is that there are so many people who are going to run out of time. And our job is to enlighten you, to get you on a path. I wish for everybody that listens to this show to understand that I don't care how you get there, as long as you get there. There are things in this world, in this universe, in this multiverse that are reaching out to you right now, that are ringing those bells for you right now. They want you, we want you to be there with us. And the problem is that we are heading down a path that is going to take that from you before you can achieve it. And like I said, I'm not endorsing a candidate over one over the other. I'm not. What I'm looking at now is I'm looking at what candidate is going to give us the most time on this earth. Because things are coming. Things are coming. You can't avoid them. The train has left the station, as they would say. But there are certain candidates, and I'm not going to say the name. I don't care. You figure it out on your own. Ask your heart's heart to guide you on this. I'm not going to say the candidate's name. But there is one candidate I actually believe will give us more time to work for you. I believe there's another candidate that is, if elected, will carry on and head down this war, this, how do you say? Head down this path of war. And no one wins in war. There are no winners. There are no winners. And so what I have to tell you guys is ask your heart to heart. At this point in America, you have to ask what candidate is going to possibly avoid war the longest, to give us time, to give you time to become awake. Now, it's not an endorsement. You have to ask yourself that. And I ask that you honestly ask yourself that and you vote that way. That's the message that has been given to me. Is you have two candidates, viable candidates. We actually have 4 candidates, but viable candidates. because of the two-party system here in the United States. One, we will continue down the path. The other, we will continue down the path, but it might take a little bit longer. There's going to be a little bit of easing. So choose. But at the end of the day, we're still going to end up in a war. That's what's been told. So you guys do what you want. You disagree, agree with me, whatever. You can give me a call at 352-388-3900, or you can put it in the Skype line, TMO listener. And of course, you can do chat. Be glad to hear from you guys in the chat room, what you guys think. It's open topic, so you're not going to offend me by saying what is on your mind. I'd like to hear what you guys think about the current affair. What's going on? I'm just trying to buy time for you guys and for my children, because I don't think that they're awake yet. They're still living the earthly world. They still live in the earthly world. So Joey in the chat room on Skype is saying we have to wake people up so they can evolve with us. Absolutely. It's happening so that they do not, we will not die, but be put on an Earth-like planet where they will take their time to evolve. This world is a third world, and it's what is changing. It's moving to the fifth dimensional world. Those that do not move with it will be moved to the other Earth planet. Is going to be how it is. That is correct. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get you, the enlightened, those that are awake, to come with us, to live in that world that you are meant to live in. This world is too far gone. It is. It is ruled. It is controlled by those who want to devour it. And we want you to move with us. That's why I don't care. In a sense, I can care less in the political arena who gets elected, who doesn't. The only thing I care about is that we just give ourselves enough time. It's kind of like I need more time. We in the world of enlightenment, those that are enlightened, need more time to pull you across. We need one more second, one more minute, one more hour. And that's why it's so important that we do these shows. And, a lot of people will criticize us for that. I don't care. Criticize away. I don't care. I expect that. I mean, at the end of the day, where do you know that the right and the left come together in a common place? We have the right and we have the left that listen to this show. Because in their hearts, everybody wants to be in the light. They do. They want to come to the light. That is our nature. And the reason why we share these esoteric viewpoints with you, these events and these things and these experts, is to show you that the world is made up of so many things that you have no clue. You can put your hand on a car. You can open the door to your house. But as many cars as you see, as many houses as you live in, there is a multiple universe out there. There is a magnitude so great that you can't comprehend. And we want to bring that to you. We want to share that, or I want to share that with you. And that's why we do these shows. And that's why we'll always do these shows. There's a game plan here. You guys know that have listened to me long enough to know that I wasn't kicking and screaming coming back to doing the radio. Not at all. I was awoken and I was told that this is what I have to do. And I'm doing it. And I'm a noob. I'm learning. If you started 30 days ago with us, September 3rd, when we did our first show, all the way up to now, you will see the learning. You will see the progression. And that's, that's the way it should be. But I am learning every day. And I've learned tonight, our guest, Leslie, great show. I mean, she has given us another quiver or another arrow to put in our quiver. She has provided us that. She has provided us that arrow. Just one more. One more. Which is really cool. I'm definitely, going to get her book. And I suggest you guys do too. Great book. Tells us how to understand the instruction book of individuals based upon their astrology. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, that's bunk. Okay, whatever. All right. I want as many arrows in my quiver as I possibly can get my hands on for what's coming. And to help us navigate through the lies and disinformation. Sounds like another show, right? But I definitely am not going to say no to someone who wants to give me another arrow that I can use. Wow. Well, guys, is there any callers? You can give me a call at 352-388-3900. That's 352-388-3900. Love to hear from you. And I do have a love for radio. I have a love for this craft. Joey says, eventually everything is going to change. Where it may seem scary, energy is being flown down to us so that we will be ready when it is time. The message I was to give and keep giving is to open their minds to the change and to love. That's right. Be love. That's where it starts. We had Gerard on here, Artisan, joined us, and that was the message that he has given us from the beings that he's in contact with, is be love. And he's so right. Think about it. And let's talk about this thing called be love. I'm doing it. Oh, let me take this call. Caller, give us your first name and where you are calling from.
Debbie, Seattle.
Hey, Debbie in Seattle. How are you?
I may as well talk while I'm waiting for my ride.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the show and stuff. Yeah. So, well, wait a minute. Have you been chatting to us on your phone? Is that what you were doing?
My iPad.
Okay. I was like, yeah, you're chatting with us. How are you doing that?
I'm doing what?
I said, how were you chatting with us when you're waiting for the...
I don't know. I'm on the speaker page, and all of a sudden I've been able to chat all along, but all of a sudden the chat room popped up. I don't know.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Well, thank you for your call.
Yeah.
Thank you for your call.
I'll listen to you guys any way I can find out how.
That's it. Hey, you know what? We're actually talking to we hopefully, all right, keep your fingers crossed. Pray, meditate, do what works for you. But we are actually going to be put in touch with, there's a radio station there in Seattle, Talk Radio. They're in Seattle.
Really?
About possibly being on the air.
Oh, wow, cool.
They have over 3 million listeners.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah, well, I'll give you out the call letters after we talk to them. But
Okay.
keep your fingers crossed. We have a couple people that are in our court who are going to management and saying, "Hey, look, there's a new show, pick it up." And so they're hopefully they get syndicated shows. These are national shows that they're doing, but they don't really, how do you say this? They don't cater to a market. It's kind of like fluff. It's just,
right.
We got dead air, so we need to fill the space.
Right.
So hopefully you'll be able to listen to us on your radio versus on the phone. So,
well, that would be fantastic.
That would be incredible for us. I mean, it would
Any
help.
way I can get it, Guy, I'm there, okay?
Yeah. So, hey, have you seen, how's the weather there in Seattle? Is it clear?
Oh, man. They've got, later today they had a warning for everybody to go take shelter. It was bad. It was just hailing and just pouring and lightning. And
wow.
And tomorrow morning at about 10, 11 o'clock Western time, we're going to get hit hard, 80-mile-an-hour winds and everything. So I'm on my way to my son's house, and I'm down in the basement.
You're going to be in the basement? Well, because my next question was, have you seen our little friends over your house?
Not today. They scared of the weather.
Oh, they're out there. They're still there.
I'm sure they're above the clouds.
They're probably doing the clouds.
Yeah, when it's raining, they stay above the clouds, and when it's clear, they're down below. They're keeping a watch on whatever they're doing up there. They got a watch going on.
Yeah.
I'd bet money on it.
I was going to ask you, do you have any air bases by you?
Yes, we do. I think there's 2.
What are they? Do you know the names of them?
Gosh. I could tell you, but I would probably be wrong. There's so many around the country. But I know for sure there's 2 very close to here.
Yeah, you got some high wind warning. Yeah, public information. Wow.
Yeah, we're going to get hit hard tomorrow morning around 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's why I'm getting ready to head out.
Yeah, you're looking at, well, I would get out of there. I mean, at 2 a.m. you're supposed to get it, but yeah, you're at about 12. But yeah, 2 a.m. it's going to start kicking up for you guys.
At least I hope my son's on his way.
Yeah. No, I would. Yeah, it looks like you're going to have some pretty bad weather.
Yeah, I live in a mobile home park, and I've got 40-foot trees, all around me, within 7 feet.
Yeah.
And then I got limbs already coming down on top of my mobile home and stuff. The dogs are barking and freaking out. And yeah, it's a warning sign to leave.
Yeah, no, you definitely need to get out of there. A lot of people have not been, I didn't grow up, but my dad was stationed at Kingsley Field, Oregon. And, these are trees. I mean, when you talk about trees, especially in Seattle, Oregon, that area, Washington, all that area, I mean, these trees are massive. I mean,
there it goes, up above the cloud line. Fly, dude!
Yeah.
I see, at a 45-degree angle. Just like you see those UFOs do.
Yeah.
They fuck up to a 45-degree angle and it goes supersonic.
So you just saw one?
Yeah. So he flew right over and he just, a 45-degree angle and he just jetted up.
They're
as fast as a spacecraft, Jeff.
They're listening. They're listening to you.
What? Of course they are.
They are listening.
What do you think Facebook misses with me?
Yeah. Yeah, they're listening to you.
They can listen to me on my iPad, okay? They know everything. I'm typing and everything, okay, Jeff?
Why would they be listening to you? What, Debbie, what?
They don't, for some reason, they don't want me reporting this crap. They've never done it before. Never.
You never had an issue until you actually come onto this show and you started telling people about them.
Correct.
Oh, well, they're going to get a real kick when we send the TV crew up there.
I bet. Yeah, I can't wait.
It's coming. We're still working out we're working out the smaller details like payment.
Yeah.
Because they definitely want to do it, and but obviously we have to pay for hotels and stuff. I mean, they're not charging me to film. It's just that the transportation and stuff. So we're working out those small details. And
I heard rumors that Facebook sold out to the government.
Oh, they did. They're owned by the government.
Well, God,
they didn't last night's show.
You know why?
Yeah, no, they're owned by the government. They got their funding from the CIA. But
really?
But what's really without a doubt. But what's real funny is that, like yesterday's show, what we did is I was told ahead of time that they will not allow that show to go live. The show that we did yesterday. I was told that they would not allow that show to go live. So what I did, or what we did, is we recorded the show. Didn't tell anybody, once again, didn't tell anybody that we were doing it. There are certain shows that that are recorded. And there's a reason for that, because I am told that they'll never let it live. So what we did is we recorded that show, and sure enough, we were playing it back. And right as he got into some of the, the government stuff, sure enough, both Facebook and YouTube, I've never had YouTube fail. I've never had YouTube fail like this.
Me either.
But YouTube failed right in the middle of the thing. So that's fine, because what I did is I just posted the whole show and its whole recording up there. I just said, okay, fine. And so I just posted the whole show because I already had it recorded and I already had the video recorded, and I uploaded the video and boom, Bob's your uncle. And now, it's there. So yeah, now what's probably going to happen is they're going to find ways of just taking the videos down. But that's what we're doing, is that when we know that things are going to be messed with, we record, we do things. We do things. And I won't tell you who I'm talking to this weekend, but, we're going to be doing some other recordings here over the weekend as well.
You can't say too much right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. They listen to everything. They don't want this. See, and I think what it is I don't think they care about the message. They don't want people to be aware and to be ready, because they want to wipe look, people, they want people to be, there are documents.
I've heard about the government. They're stocking up body bags.
In Atlanta, Georgia. They have body bags. They have fields of body bags. Plastic coffins for people.
Yes.
We have video of it, and we have pictures of it. The other thing is that they know, we have Bob Fletcher was on here. He was the Deep Throat Iran-Contra Deep Throat. His show is going to air to the public on Monday. We're going to air that show Monday. Now, if you're a member of the Midnight Listeners and everything, you can hear it now if you want to. But on Monday, that's going out to the public. He was at the end of at the Iran-Contra, and after we talked about that and the death of Congressman Sonny Bono, he talks about where he was investigating the $3.2 trillion or billion dollar missing from the Defense Department. And he found out that the government was building underground bases. And that's where that $3.2 billion went. They are building underground facilities. Now, why are they building underground facilities? Because of, the inevitable cataclysm that's coming our way as Earth. They know that there's two things.
Be protected, Jeff. You know this.
What's that?
The elite have to be protected.
Oh,
you know this, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're absolutely. And he uncovers it, and we talk about it on the show. So we're going to release that on Monday. We had the gentleman yesterday that knows Bob Fletcher. He was talking about, he was the former CNN science editor for CNN, and he's talking about Nibiru, and he's talking about the cataclysm that's coming. And like I said, I know enough scientists that are saying that the magnetic poles are going to shift. That's a given. That happens every 3,000 or so years. And that's going to cause, tremendous upheaval in our oceans. So that's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be, they said it's going to be like 600-foot.
Yeah. Waves.
Tidal waves.
Yeah, no, it's coming. You have the Mandela effect that's going on. So you have this intertangling of different dimensions that are going. And like I said, what's going to happen for me is I'm just going to step off into another dimension.
Right.
I already know how that's going to work because I was told it's kind of like just boom, boom. And I'm going to look back at this dimensional Earth and say, sorry, guys, I tried to bring you with me. I hope, hopefully you guys will come with me. So that's where we're going with this. But, the government, they don't want you to hear this because they want, and there are well documented government officials. If you just Google, government, and you look at not genocide, but eugenics, government eugenics, and famous people with eugenics, and you will see where these people, the King of England, you have not the King of England, but his son, Prince Charles. Right. They're talking. You have Gore. You have very well-known politicians saying we need to reduce public population or world population.
What is it, 500,000?
Yeah, well, and you got the guy stones. You can't have over 200 something million people on the earth. And they're all saying the same thing. And even Joey is saying they have been doing that for a very long time. Jesse Ventura went to them and asked about WTF, where they all about. He did not get the answers and was not happy about. Yeah. I mean, listen to Bob Fletcher. Bob it's just that show's coming out Monday. We're going to release it in its entirety Monday, and you guys can listen to it. Now, I'll be in the chat room when we release it, and it's just incredible that like I said, I'm just hoping that we can squeak out a few more minutes, a few more hours, a few more seconds, and bring more people along with us. Right. And that's what I'm hoping. And if I can bring one more person, listen to this show, and I know a lot of people out there go, this is all crap. But like I said, you tell me a show in which I have ultra right conservatives and I have ultra left liberals coming together and meeting and talking to each other. And that's what we have with this show. We have on both sides, and it's amazing. And so obviously we can agree on something. And unfortunately, we agree that the world is changing and the elite are making a change, and they're trying to keep us from these esoteric ideas because they don't want us to know, and they don't want us. The last thing they want us to do is prepare.
No, they do not. Yep. They do not want that.
Yeah, they want to be in their ark, and they want to be in their shelter. And after the tribute, the thing happens, they want to, come back and rule the world and continue on. But the last thing they want to do is when they open up the doors, us sitting there looking at them going, here we are. You don't rule anything. Right. Let's explain this. You've ruled this world for 200 years or thousands of years, not 1,000, but you've ruled since the Roman Empire. And let us explain to you how this is going to work. We are the enlightened ones. We are going to run the world, and we are going to make sure that everybody is included. Black, white, Hispanic.
There's going to be those people that don't follow along. It's inevitable.
Yes, you are correct. And that's the thing. They want us to fight with it. No matter how much you tell them or what you tell them, they're not going to comply. Yep. Well, oh well. That's. It's a shame. It's a shame. Oh well. But it's just crazy. So. I've got a couple of friends on the group line that listen to you, too. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Cool. I promote, dude. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We're growing leaps and bounds. I mean, it's amazing how how we are getting the message out there. And
people are seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it was funny because with Marshall Masters, he goes, I see you being the, hey, this is John Connors. Is anybody out there? He says, I can see you being that guy.
Yeah.
Being the, hey, this is John Connors. Is there anybody out there? If you're listening to this, we are the resistance.
How sad that would be.
Well, but unfortunately, that's what's coming. And you can't, and I want you to understand that's what's coming.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
I've known it for a while.
And thus you are awake to it. So that's cool. So you can prepare.
I am awake to it.
Yeah, you can prepare. But it is. Yeah, it was funny. I was thinking about doing some voiceover work this weekend where, hey, this is Jeff Norton. Is there anybody out there? This is Jeff Norton. We are the resistance.
There you go, do it.
Well, the problem is that I don't want people, this is an area that comes together and I don't want to scare people off. I want to bring, but.
I belong to a group of resistance and, we have a lot of followers.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
I know. I know we're out there. I do know we're out there. It says, Joey, in the chat room says, if people knew that from the Rockies to the Appalachian Mountains and who knows how far south they are, but they are all the way across country and sorry, but that takes far longer than just a few years. Oh, check this out. I was told, are you sure George Washington lived? I kind of froze and said, I froze and said, I am fairly sure. He said, are you sure? He meant it. Are you sure George Washington did live? Time is not what you think, and guess people are not too. That's pretty deep.
Anything's a possibility, Jeff.
Well, I question everything now.
Yes, you have to.
I question everything because who am I to know? I mean, I wasn't there. I actually had that conversation with someone not too long ago where they were talking about, Muhammad and he raped children and he did all that. And I'm like, wow, how do you know that? Were you there?
Yeah, really.
I mean, were you there? Did you see it? And I mean, and they're like, well, and like, unless I don't know what to believe. All I know is what I see now. And what I'm being told now. And
and things aren't looking too good.
They're not. And even what you thought you saw in the past, you're seeing the coordinated effort to erase that with the Mandela effect. So that's the thing. Is it?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a firm believer, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm torn if I should put that voiceover. That hey, this is.
You better think 3 times about it, but I still say it's a good idea.
Yeah, I was told that the South actually won the war. Time it was messed with, and what we have now is what they did to it. I believe that.
Anything's possible.
Joey, I believe. Yeah, I mean, they can change time, and what happens is that that was far enough back that if they changed time before my birth or before your birth, then that would change our perception of what actually happened.
It would.
Yep. It's crazy stuff, but and then the other thing too is that I have been playing around with this multi-universe concept and going into other timelines when I sleep. See, that's the beauty about being awake is being able to go into different timelines or different alternative histories and watch.
Exactly.
And see what happens. I'm doing it now. I've been carrying a lot of. I was a little knucklehead. I'm trying to keep it clean for radio, but I was a little knucklehead when I was younger. I was an angry young man when I was younger, and I did things and I said things to people that I wasn't proud of. And like I said, I'm going back. I'm using this time, and I'm using my ability to control my dream. I'm going back in those times, and I'm setting what I call bells, and I'm stopping myself from those moments in my life, and I'm cleaning up my conscience by going back and doing that. And that's the power. I mean, that's a lot of people that are listening to the show go, that's crazy. You got to try it though. if there is something that you're carrying guilt or a bad feeling or an animosity towards a person, and you wish that you had the opportunity to maybe someone passed before you could say goodbye to them.
Yeah.
Close your eyes tonight. Close your eyes tonight. Think hard about that time in your life. Go back to that time. Remember, listen for the sounds, smell the flowers, do whatever you got to do. Get yourself back in that time and rectify it. I will tell you, when you wake up the next day, you will feel completely different.
You know what, Jeff? I've done that, and I actually had a dream about the person. It was like a real dream, like it came to me.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Yeah. I had a fiance that killed herself in 1988, and 3 days after he died, I was gone. I was just so upset, And on the third day, I went to sleep at night, and he came to me in my dreams, and he was all happy and everything. He was driving in his truck, and he was showing me my future and all this kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, I did one, I talked about this on the show. I went to a school in Arizona, and there was a black girl. Her name was Ivy, and I was just downright hateful towards her. I called her Poison Ivy, and I told all the kids, I'm like, ooh, don't touch her. She's poison. Her name's Ivy. She's poison. I made her cry, and I hurt her, and I did it out of just being. I did it because she was different. Her skin color was different, and let's be honest, that's why I did it. And on top of that, it was easy to pick her name. So what I did, and this is crazy. I want to share this with you guys on the show. So I went back in time to that point, and I remember it very well. And I saw myself doing that to her. I saw myself doing that to her. Then after she did it and she was there crying, because we used to bring our lunches and we would sit out and eat, lunch by the school, by the build. We were in our classroom was like a mobile home kind of classroom, mobile classroom. And we would sit there, and that's where we'd eat lunch. So I envisioned myself as a young kid who sat next to her and told her, said, don't be upset. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't know that he is not hurting you. He's hurting himself by doing this to you. Right. And that you are a beautiful young woman, and you will grow up to do great things. And you will be someone who is great, but don't worry about him. And I said, we will take care of him. And it was funny because she turned to me, she goes, who are you? And I told her, I said, don't worry. I said, I am your guardian angel. And that's what I went to her, and I did that. And I felt that at the end of it, when I woke up, I felt that part of my life, that anger, that holding on to that was washed away. Was literally washed away. I don't have any animosity. I wish I could find her. I'll find her someday, and because I know her name, I got a classroom picture with her name on it, and I'll find her and stuff. But I that's what I did. I went back in my past and I corrected it. I did it. Not another kid. I got in a fight with my best friend. He's like my best friend. And I went and got in a fight with him, and I ended up breaking his finger. Wow. we were fighting, and he got his finger pinched in a desk and broke it. Well, I, didn't do the, we're your guardian angel. I stopped the fight before it could happen. I saw myself in the classroom. I saw him in the classroom. I saw them starting the mouth, where they were mouthing with each other. And I stepped in as a teacher and I said, hey, knock it off, you two. And I stopped it before it even happened. And I've been doing that. I've been reconciling those things. Cool. And, it's crazy. And that's, who knows? Maybe I'm changing the timeline for myself. I don't know. But that's how I'm rectifying.
You're doing yourself a lot of good karma is all.
Well, It's not. It's just that you have the opportunity. I have the ability. You always said, you always tell yourself, well, if I could go back in time and fix this, well, yeah, you can. You can go back in time and fix it. You can do it in your dreams, because you got to remember, your timeline is your perception of you. And if you do evil, nasty things and you carry that, because once you've done it, it's in the past.
Right.
Right. And so to carry forward, it's already part of your past. So if you want to take that bad mojo out, you rectify it, and you can go in the past by using dreamscapes, and you can do that.
That's right. You can.
But what's really fun is going into the future. I did that today, where I left myself a poker chip on the dashboard, on the center console. I was in the future, and I went into the future, and to leave myself a little note that I was, gonna mess, and I wasn't, there was no like story behind it. I just did it to mess with myself. And I took that poker chip and I put it on my center console. Normally it's in the console itself, but I took it out and put it on the center console just to say, hey, I was here. And sure enough, I got in the truck today. Sandy and I went to go get ice cream. Sandy went to go get ice cream. I'm trying to lose weight. And sure enough, that little Mapes Hotel poker chip was sitting right there in the center console. I picked it up, smiled, put it in my pocket, and carried on the rest of the day.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So it was, and those are the little bells that we put in that kind of guide us through life. So,
right.
Oh, well. Well, I'm glad you saw your friends tonight. At least they're 100%, right?
What was that?
I said, I'm glad you saw your friends for the night. At least they're 100%. They show up pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, well, I think, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to maybe, since there's no other callers, let me see if there's anybody. If you guys would like to join in the conversation, give us a call at 352-388-3900. I'd love to have you.
You're welcome.
You guys can join into the conversation as we are talking, as we're rolling into the night and talking with our good friend Deb from Seattle. We can do this. I was told that there is a way in Skype that I can have multiple callers on at the same time. I've never tried. Yeah, I've never tried it.
Cool.
Yeah, I've never tried it. So if anybody wants to call in, feel free to give us a call. Love to hear from you as we roll on into the twilight hours. But, wow.
Yeah, I guess I'm here for the night. My son says I'll be okay till morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
I've got my truck already packed, and if it gets real bad, I'll get in my truck and go down the street and call him, make him get up.
Make him come and get you. Well, you be safe.
Yeah, I'm no dummy.
You be.
He works really late. He starts like at 7 in the morning and doesn't get off like 9 or 10 at night.
Sure. What time is it there in Seattle?
Let me look. We're 3 hours behind.
You're 3 hours behind, so we're at 12.
In here.
Yeah, so it's still early for you guys.
Yeah.
It's still early. And those that are over there in YouTube, we got a few listeners, few individuals there in YouTube still listening to the show. If there's anything you want to talk about tonight, it's fair game. If you don't want to talk, if you don't want to give us a call at area code 352-388-3900 or on the Skype line TMO listener, you can put your questions in the chat room, and I will be glad, and that's either the Spreaker chat or the YouTube chat, and I will be glad to answer them to the best of my ability. Joey says it's 1. Yeah, you're same time zone as me.
Yeah.
Joey.
I got nothing better to do than talk right now. If anybody else wants to butt in, feel free.
It sounds like you're pouring yourself a stiff one there, Deb.
How'd you know that, Jeff?
I would like to say that I'm empathic. I'm empathic that way.
Again.
Yeah, but these high,
it's going to be fine, Mother.
Yeah, these high definition headphones that I got on. Yeah, I can hear it hitting the glass. Yeah, I'd like to say that I'm empathic, but no, that one was all about the
scary times. You gotta do something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's fine. To each their own, right? To each their own.
That's right.
And so it's really crazy. Sandy yells at me. I can't drink anymore like I used to. I just can't do it. I can't, for some reason, it doesn't appeal to me.
Well, I don't drink much either. I drink like maybe twice a year. I can't really drink a lot because I have diverticulitis, and that will put me in the ER real quick. That
will tear you up.
Oh, yeah. I water it down a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that will definitely tear you up. But
yeah.
But like I said, if anybody wants to give us a call, 352-388-3900. Join the party line here Friday night as we roll on into the evening. And
I'm just roaming around here doing my thing, talking to you.
I got you. It's all good. I want a play-by-play when you see those guys again out your window.
What's that?
I want a play-by-play again when you see the craft. So those that are listening, we're talking with Deb, who on a nightly basis, she's up in Seattle, and on a nightly basis, she sees these craft that look like they're narrow in the center, and then they have 4 protruding on each end, and they fly at high rates of speed. They're silent, don't make any noise, and they move in irregular patterns or shapes.
And there's always 2 to 3 orange orbs in the sky.
There's always 2 to 3 orbs with them. So we're talking with her, and apparently they're getting hit with a pretty good. Oh, like Leslie said, it was to be in your youth, but not in your adulthood. So that makes sense to me. Absolutely. Yeah. So, as Leslie said, yeah.
Well, I've been having paranormal experiences all my life, Jeff.
Have you? See, that's why they're attracted. Since
I was a baby.
Yeah.
I believe I've been abducted because I found scoop marks. I wake up in the morning, Jeff, I have broken fingernails. My necklaces are broke. I had a cross, a silver cross, okay, on a leather string around my neck. It was really thick too, okay? Not a small one, it was kind of medium size.
Yeah.
One of the sides of the arms of the cross was broke off. But it was still on my neck, and I'm thinking, what the hell?
Yeah.
2 days later, you know where I found the other piece of the cross?
Where?
In the closet. Now you figure that one out.
In the closet.
In the closet. And I know damn well I wasn't in the closet.
See, that's why I don't like. When I'm in my bedroom, I close my closet. I don't like having them open.
So do I. They're always closed.
Wow.
Seriously, I think they come and abduct me from time to time. Because it's just too many strange things.
Yeah, you need to talk to our good friend Laura McDonald. She was on the show. She is the MUFON. She is one of many, but she's one of the main ones. She does the regression therapies.
I would love to have that done. Because this has been happening to me since I was 5 years old.
Reach out to her. Go to themidnightocean.com. You look up Leslie McDonald, just like the McDonald's, that you eat. And her contact information's there. You can email her directly and she'll work with you. I mean, that's, I've been talking to her for a while now. And, yeah. So yeah, you can find her on the website, and her name is Lori McDonald.
I thought you said Leslie.
No, I got Leslie mixed up for tonight's guest. I get them all mixed up.
It's Lori.
No, it's Lori. Yeah, just look up McDonald. Lori.
All right. REGRESSION. Regression. I would be really curious to find out what's been going on. Because, all through my life when I was raising my kids, I was a single mother, and my kids would always tell me, Mom, why are you screaming and cussing in your sleep? And Jeff, I never wake up when I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Something's been going on.
Yeah.
These orange orbs, they're always all around me wherever I go. They're in the sky.
Yep. Yeah, see, this is the thing, is I'm having what they call paradoxical dreams lately, and I've been working with her now, where I am dreaming real things, but they're not happening while I'm dreaming. Like, I'll dream that I'm sleeping, and then Sandy will come and wake me up. So when I wake up, Sandy's not there. She's sleeping. Or I'll be sleeping, and my dog, my Great Pyrenees, will bark at me to wake me up, and I wake up and he's not there when I wake up.
Weird.
So I'm having what they call paradoxical dreamings, which is kind of a alternative universe that somewhere that maybe happened. These aren't like I go to different lands or anything. Like, I will dream that I'm laying in my chair and I have a dream that someone wakes me up, and I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, well, wait, I'm still dreaming. And then I'll wake up and they won't be standing there.
Have you ever heard of those implants that some people find in them?
Yeah.
I had something in my hand, my left hand, just along the before the fingers.
Yeah.
And I started fiddling around with it. That damn thing moved, Jeff. Okay? It moved to where I couldn't find it.
Wow.
Really? It did.
I've heard, I was listening to another radio, and they had the implant where they were removing an implant, a surgical procedure, and the thing moved. Yeah. And they stopped. They were like, we can't, because we don't know what the type of damage. They were doing an interview about it. And they're like, we can't continue because we don't know what type of damage this will do to the person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wasn't it that doctor, Dr. Lear? He takes the implants out of a lot of abductees.
Well, not Dr. Lear. Lear is part of that. It's a different doctor.
Oh.
And that was the show that I was listening to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I would love to have a regression done.
Yeah, I mean, Leslie will, Leslie, why am I saying Lori will do that for you?
That'd be great. Where's she at?
She's in California, but she does her, she will work with you. Yeah, it's Roger Lear. You are right. Unfortunately, yeah, he died though.
Did he?
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, he died in March of 2014.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's a shame.
Yep.
Another good one gone.
Yeah, that's the problem, is all the good ones are leaving us.
They are. And
that's why I'm trying to get them on the show so we can get recent, current, documentary. I'm trying to find all of the old Art Bell guests and trying to get them on the show. And it's hard to find them because some of them don't want to be on the show anymore. They're on the downside. And then the other thing too is you're finding a lot of them are passing because there's a whole new set of audience. We have such a young audience now that is listening to these shows. And, we're trying to reach even to a younger audience in the sense that we're trying to get on university campuses, things of that nature, these students so they can listen to the shows and understand that there is an esoteric under threat out there that they need to be exposed to. It's not what everything that they learn in school or are taught in school.
Right.
I'm thinking about how we can do this. Maybe start or find paranormal groups on university campuses as part of the clubs and reaching out to them and saying, hey, look, promote us, and we'll make a contribution to you guys, or maybe have you guys on our show and talk. So but I gotta build. I need my army. I don't need my army. We need an army. I need to get people, like yourself and other individuals, Sentinel over there in the chat room, and those guys. I need to start getting them and say, hey, look, can you guys help us out here? Because I would do it, but then the problem that I run into is self-grandizing, and I don't want to do that. I want our listeners to go out and tell people about us. And if you feel good enough about our show, you'll do that, right? But there's chat rooms like the Bell Gab chat room. I'm surprised that no one said anything to it. Or when you go out to Bell Gab, the forum, and they have other shows, our show isn't even listed. I'm like not shocked. It will come when it comes, right? It will happen when it happens. But I mean, that's an opportunity to get the word out.
Have you heard about the million person march going on by Anonymous?
Yeah.
Boy, I wish I could go.
Yeah, I don't. I'm staying out of I'm staying out of the whole politics thing.
Yeah, I think it'd just be kind of interesting to march once.
Oh, it would. It definitely would. But I'm staying out of the politics because we have so much work to do that I can't focus on that, because I have been told that is already written.
Really?
The outcome of that is already written. So we need to focus on getting people ready for the next wave.
Right.
And that's, and how do I say this? That's all part of their agenda. They want people to march. They want people, because what that does, how do you say this? People are pent up. People have anger, and the government will allow, or the people of power are smart enough to know that they'll let you diffuse that anger by thinking that you're actually doing something.
Exactly. You're right.
And you're not.
Right.
They're still gonna. You can put 2 million people on Washington's lawn. You can put 3 million people on Washington's lawn. I mean, think about, all right, so here's a good example. You got 371 million people in America right now, roughly. That's the population of America.
Yeah.
You only have 13% or 14% believe in their government. So you do the math. You got 350 million people or 325 million people that cannot stand their government. So you think 2 million people marching on the White House lawn is going to do anything? They don't care. They don't care because they already know that 325 million can't stand them to begin with.
That's right.
And so they don't care. Who cares if 2 million? I mean, it's impressive, but that just means there's 2 million people to them and their sick little minds. That just means there's 2 million people that weren't working for them that day, and they're going to find out why.
Right.
How did all these people get days off? Well, because 95 million working Americans aren't even working anymore. That's how they were able to do it. But then the government's going to try to figure out, well, if you got time to march on us, then you obviously we're paying you too much. See, that's the whole game. I don't even play that with them. I have no desire to, you do what you do and I'll do what I'll do.
That's right.
My mission and my goal in life it has nothing to do with yours, your government. It has everything to do with waking people up through these shows, letting them know that there are other alternatives out there, and that there are entities, there are beings, there are powers who want and need them to wake up. And and one of the ways we can start waking people up is just be love towards them.
That's right.
When someone's really crappy to you, just be, smile and say, I am sorry that you're having a bad day. I wish you the best. And I wish your day from this point forward gets better for you. And then walk on.
Exactly.
Be love. Yeah. And what's really freaky is when you got a guy that's 6'6" and well over 300 pounds say that to you, it freaks you out.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you big boy.
Yeah.
You look like
Because I look down at people, and when I say that to someone, they're like, okay. Because they don't expect that to come from me.
Yeah. I'm only 5'2", and I stood beside a guy your size. You're like a giant, dude.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, they don't expect that from me, but when I do that, it blows their minds. They don't know how to respond except, yes, sir. Typically in the South, that's what they say. Yes, sir. And it's like, no, seriously. I wish you the best. I really do. And then usually I get looked at, are you a preacher? So because, Joey's saying, because we are a free will country, we have to ask for help. Yep. You have to. You have to ask for help. That's the key. You have to ask. Yeah, you have to ask, and they're not going to give it to you. Nope. And then once you ask and you open yourself up, then I will tell you from personal experience, the floodgates will open. They will. And you need to come here to learn how to deal with it, because we listen to some of our shows. I can tell you. I mean, it's amazing that each one of our shows built upon the next. They build upon each other. I personally would be terrified to stay asleep on these situations. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, you're worried. I was laughing today. I literally, and I'm sitting there watching CNN. I turned it on today, and I was like, and you're going to tell me that the stuff that I talk about is bunk when you guys are making up fiction? And it's like, it's crazy. And I my message to them is stay out of my world. Stay out of my. I was watching CNN, and they were shoveling so much junk today. All news media is. They shovel so much, and they have the kahunas. At least I'm intellectually intelligent enough, and also I have enough integrity to tell you that you can believe what you want to believe, and you can choose not to believe what you want to believe. They sell it to you as belief that this is what it is. I mean, right. It's like I said, I have enough intellectual integrity to say, hey, look, I'm just here to present it. You take the bits and pieces that work for you, and the bits and pieces that you don't agree with, let me know about it, because I'll ask the author, or I'll ask the professional, the person that's saying it. But you take that and throw it away. I don't care. Life is all about extracting what you can and knowledge and going with that. And, right. But you're going to sit there on mainstream news media and feed me a bunch of this cow patty and tell me that it's fact. And then you're going to criticize my alternative media show or others like me and tell you that we're disingenuous and that we're crazy and we're all tinfoil wearing loonies. Where's the integrity in that? There is none. None whatsoever. Zero. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I think because it is a Saturday morning, and I got a long day ahead of me. I've got a conference call with some people tomorrow morning that's going to maybe help the show, and I've got 2 other shows that I got to record over the weekend. And I hate to do this to you, Deb, but I think we're gonna pack it up for the night. That's cool. I'm tired too. I was just keeping you company. I send out to you and to your environment safety. That I'm sending that thought out to you guys. I know you have a bad storm coming, and everybody that's listening, please, thank for our listener Deb. And I know that, you're in a kind of a hairy situation there with the trees and stuff, but I will tell you, nothing's going to happen to you. You are safe. Oh, I'm safe. Yep. Just between me and you, I was pretty warned about this. Yeah. By the people upstairs, you know what I mean? The ones watching over you. Good. I had, I don't know what you would call it. It was about 4 days ago. I
I had a feeling. Something told me something was going to happen. I was really emotional at the time, of which I had no reason to be. It just came out of a sudden. I was feeling all kinds of emotions, and I was feeling sorrow and despair. It was weird.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not weird.
Well, I'd never really... Well,
it was
I
cool.
can't see that. Yeah,
that's what...
I do have premonitions.
You need to listen to Laura, the McDonald. She. That's the other thing too, is we need to start changing our lexicon. We need to stop using words like weird and strange and bizarre, and we need to start changing them to cool. The positive words like this is cool. This is I'm grateful. It
was cool, and I am very grateful.
Yeah, no, we are
because I know that they are watching over me. I know that they come for me, Jeff.
How cool is that?
Without a doubt. And I know that they come for my daughter, because when you take pictures of her, she's got orbs all around her.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
This has been going on with me since childhood.
Wow.
So,
that's incredible. And like I said, we're still working out the details, but we're going to get a film crew up by you.
That'd be great.
And stuff, and get you to tell your story and everything. But like always, take care of yourself. I'm going to call it a night, and and we'll talk again on Monday. Well, Monday is going to be a tape show, but I will be on the chat rooms. I will be in the chat rooms. And
okay.
I will be monitoring the feeds to make sure that they go out okay. And if there's an interruption, what we're going to do is just post the feed in its entirety. All at once.
Okay.
So, all right. Take care of yourself, Deb.
You too. Take care.
Good night. Be well. So there you go, Deb. If you guys, I'm going to give you one more chance. 352-388-3900. 352-388-3900. Or I'm going to shut this party down. So no. You guys, everybody, I appreciate it. I hope you guys all have a great weekend. I hope you have plans with your family or with your friends. If you don't have plans, spend time listening to the shows here. We have all of the refeeds setting up. If you go out to the midnightocean.com, you go to Spreaker, you can go to YouTube, you can listen to all of our old shows. If you join the Midnight Listeners group, you can actually listen to the pre-recorded shows. We're going to be recording a show 1 p.m. this Sunday. And for all of those midnight listeners, we will post the show on YouTube and also on Spreaker, where you can find it and you can join in. It won't be made public, so it will not be a public show, but you can chat and listen to the show live as it is recorded for rebroadcast. That's the advantage of becoming a midnight listener. To become a midnight listener, you have to use a computer. We found out that it does not work with a mobile device. Once you go out there in the upper left-hand corner, you will see a button that says register or log in. You register all, your name, your email, and your password that you want to use, and then you're good to go. And we're going to be making some changes to the site over the weekend. Nothing major, but like I said, we will post on the Midnight Listener page the links to the live interview it's going to be live when you listen to it, for recorded for later use, and also on Spreaker. That's the advantage of becoming a Midnight Listener. Well, it's been a long night. I appreciate our guest for joining us tonight, Miss Leslie McGuirk, prolific artist and also children's book writer and astrologer. And I'm going to get her book. I'm definitely gonna get her book. I'm gonna put it in my mainstay. That's one thing. When we get our studio built, you'll see I will collect all the books. But her name of the book is The Power of Mercury: Understanding Mercury Retrograde and Unlocking the Astrological Secrets of Communication. So, great book, just a great person. Thoroughly enjoyed my conversations with her. Well, like all good things, my friends, they must always come to an end. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It's kind of like, you guys know the show will be here on Monday. You'll know that. That's how we kind of live our lives. When you know certain things are going to happen. It's not mysticism. It's not anything else. But when you become enlightened, you will realize very quickly when things are going to happen and when they're not. So you can plan. You can plan for those events. And they won't scare you. You know, it's like a dark hallway. And enlightenment is like the light switch and the light in the hallway. I have a good story I might read one day that I'm working on about being in the dark and then growing up, not recognizing the dark, and then learning about the dark again, but then also learning about the light. The phases that we go through. Have you ever wondered that? You ever thought about the phases? When you're a child, you're afraid of the dark. You truly are. Then when you grow up, the dark, it becomes irrelevant because other things have filled those voids in you, those fears. The fear of the boogeyman, the man under your bed, the man in your closet, or the monster. All of those fears go away because now you have the fear of rejection, the fear of, will I get that job? The fear, how can I pay this bill? The fear of a loved one dying or leaving you. The fear of not being able to afford college for your kids. All of those fears. The fear of the man under your bed and the monster never went away. It's just that you replace that fear with other fears. Fears of the natural world instead of the unnatural world. But what happens is when you detach yourself from the natural world, the unnatural world comes back. And that's what this show's all about. Once you detach yourself from the fear of the natural world because you realize that that's not really what you should be scared of, you realize very quickly that there's an unnatural world. And that's what this show is here for you, to help you navigate the dark, unnatural world, not the natural world that so many people live in. Oh, I wish you guys peace. I wish you guys love. And until we talk to each other again, my friends, find someone or something that makes you happy this weekend and do it. Enjoy their company, their smile, their friendship. You can always SMS, text message me if you're a member of Midnight Listeners. That will give you a text message. I'll respond to you. I will. I promise. But take care. And most importantly, make sure that you, as our good friend Ed Roman would say, be love.
This is the Midnight Ocean with Jeff Norton on the Paranormal State Radio Network.